Welcome back to another episode of the Dubois Podcast, where you're here with
Dubois.
You all right, man?
Yeah, just, last week we had Veronica on here. It's a great asset to everything, added a lot of conversation. It was nice having another extra person on here.
Yeah.
It feels a little empty without her.
Without her
seat.
being here, there's like a big empty space.
Yeah.
And it sucks because we have more equipment now.
Yeah.
So now you guys wouldn't have to pass the mic back and forth. You know what I mean?
We could just have this empty seat.
Why
This is
do
kind of
we have
weird.
more equipment?
Yeah, where'd that even come from?
Oh,
We
That's
just
kind of
setting
a
it
good
up.
point, actually.
yeah, we didn't have to set.
And why do we still have Calvin sitting here if we have the space
I
now?
know. It's kind of.
Yeah, I don't think we thought this through.
Yeah, no, I don't.
I feel like we need someone to fill the gap.
Now that you guys mention it, Veronica's not here, but I still feel like a presence.
Yeah,
Yeah.
something
You guys feel
something
that?
doesn't feel
It's
right.
off, like we're being watched or something.
Yeah.
I've always felt like we've been watched down here. It's kind of weird.
Yeah. Huh.
Hello, Sean.
Hey, have you just been there this whole time?
I've always been here.
You want to join or something, or
Sure. I'd love to.
all right, I guess you could sit down or whatever.
Okay.
It's been 37 days since I've eaten.
Come on in.
Well, welcome.
Hello.
All settled in?
Hi, how are you?
Don't forget your headphones.
God.
You've been watching us and you don't know the protocol?
You think you have? Wait, no, I'm right. You're good.
Yeah, he's good.
Right and left, but I think he's good.
All right. With that set,
Scoot back-
we
scoot
guess
back
we
like
can
an
get
inch
in.
just
Oh,
case.
okay.
Oh,
Right here.
Sorry.
All right, I'm ready.
all right. We have our special guest here, Austin.
Hey!
My name is Austin.
You know about D&D, right?
I-
That's what we're talking about. So I hope you all know.
Surprise! If you could tell.
Yeah.
Well, if you don't, you're gonna learn.
What is all this?
Yeah.
Well, that
That's a dragon.
That's a book. I can tell what that is.
No, that's a
a
dragon.
lizard.
Not that.
Yes, I do know D&D.
All right.
I have run D&D. I have played D&D.
Nice.
I like D&D. I love it.
Not me.
All right. Well, good to know.
I hate D&D,
for the
actually.
viewers out there, our topic today is going to be about D&D. 5 of us are going to talk about, 3 main things:
Yeah.
how we make our characters,
Yeah.
our favorite character,
Yeah.
or characters, if we got some extra time,
I still don't know
and
what's inside.
Yeah, same,
our
actually.
favorite memory with a character. So yeah, before we get into that though, let's get into our music recommendations. We'll start with Austin, our special guest.
Hey.
Okay. Quick yap session. I had a song
Already?
in mind.
Already.
I had one in mind. It's not very clearly found on Spotify, but something that I've noticed as of late. Somebody did what's called a negative harmony of a bunch of different famous songs. So negative harmony, it's instead of highs they're lows, instead of lows they're highs. So negative harmony for Bohemian Rhapsody. Look it up.
Nice.
It just changes how the listening experience of it is. However, that made me think of cover songs. So my song recommendation is "Don't Fear the Reaper," covered by, sorry for the language, Ninja Sex Party. I don't know if anyone knows the band, but
NSP.
it is
That's one half of your favorite YouTube duo.
yeah.
Yep.
Mr. Dan
One half.
Avidan has a very good voice, and it's "Don't Fear the Reaper" is one of my favorite songs, and just that cover of the song is one of my favorite covers. It's both a homage, as well as being just a good cover of the song in general, and it's one of my favorites.
Nice.
So "Don't Fear the Reaper," Ninja Sex Party.
Bet.
All right.
Mine's a little bit of a yapper too, a little bit, because I have two.
Oh boy.
Two
Fucking up the
again.
formula
I'm
already.
sorry, bro. Hey, it's more music for y'all.
It's just this side of the table.
But
Yeah, but
I'm greedy.
so there was one. Okay, first of all, so they're by the same person. Audrey Nuna, love her, very talented, a lot of range. And speaking of, So the first one is the one that came out a couple days ago. It is called, oh my goodness,
Uh-oh.
Starving.
There
Star-
it is.
Starving. And it came out a couple days ago. And that one I like a lot because she's like sung before, but not like this. It was a very different like sound for her, and I enjoyed it a lot. I was a little iffy on the feature at first, but you're on me. And then the second one is Pleasures, which was for like a movie soundtrack. Also very good, and that one's more of like her rapping, and I rock with that a lot. So
Nice. Hell yeah.
Nice.
couldn't decide because both are very good, and I love her a lot, so I just chose both.
One thing I will say, I've listened to Audrey Nuno before. Definitely, she changes her style a lot, but I
Yeah.
think she's pretty versatile as an artist.
Absolutely, I love
You
her.
know, her singing voice is good. Her rapping is also pretty good.
Facts.
Nice.
Facts.
Oh yeah.
My recommendation is Self Medication by Logic featuring
Nice.
Seth MacFarlane and
Nice.
Redman and a bunch of other people. You know,
Collab.
it's kind of hard to describe, I guess, but I just really like, one, hearing Seth MacFarlane sing. You know, it's not something you hear outside of like Family Guy.
Yeah.
And like, you know, the songs are good in Family Guy,
sing.
but they're goofy. You know,
yeah.
and just, you know, they play to the episode. But like, I feel like hearing him sing outside of that was kind of cool. And you know, Logic being one of my favorite rappers.
Yeah.
You know, all around also a great album. Just check it out.
Hell yeah.
Nice.
Oh yeah.
So for me, Valentine's Day week, that's a hard week for your boy.
Feel
So
that.
I discovered a song. It's called Anchor by Novo Amor.
I love
Um,
that song.
Yeah,
Nice.
it's very sullen, very sad. And if you're like me,
Was that the one that was in 5 Feet Apart?
is it?
I think so.
Oh, hell yeah.
The one that was also in like an Allegra commercial. Sorry.
Oh. Anyways, if you're like me and sadness is your superpower, this song will fuel you to be your best self. Novo Amor, at least for a couple
your
of the songs
saddest
that I've
self.
heard.
True.
Yes, or your saddest self, but that's when you're your strongest anyway.
True.
So they
Not me.
that's why I said if sadness is your superpower. if.
Yeah.
God dang.
I'm sorry. What do you want from me?
Anyways,
Continue.
they also did the song Haven from Life is Strange.
That's me.
Hey, Haven.
True. Yeah,
Oh,
that's a good one
that
too.
song is also
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Life
so,
is Strange. Good to you. Sorry. Anyway.
Yeah.
Anyways, Novo Amor, they make good music if you really want to just be
Good
deep
like-
inside your
True.
sad emotions.
True.
So
Yeah.
Ethereal.
that's my recommendation for this week.
Nice.
Very nice.
Ethereal.
I didn't have like a specific one in mind before today, so I'm just gonna say my old favorite before I like started listening to music.
Mhm.
So that's "Fly Like an Eagle"
Yes, sir.
by Steve Miller Band.
I remember those days.
That's
Yes,
right.
sir.
He does
That was,
break
like, one
out
of the
this
only
song.
songs I listened to because just 'cause it had good vibes,
Yeah.
and it was the only songs I had access to because my parents had it.
Okay, yeah.
Was
So
it like a CD kind of deal?
they
or?
had CDs, and I think they eventually had like albums on like iTunes. And I
Gotcha.
had an iPod at the time, so
Ah,
I was
okay.
able to use that. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Nice.
But
Good song. Good song.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
All right, good recommendations all around. Hopefully, you guys enjoy listening to our song picks. We do have our playlist on Spotify if you want to check it out.
True.
Yes, please follow.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's very good. I've been listening to it.
Also,
Hell
like our stuff on all platforms, please.
Oh, nice.
True.
You might as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're here,
Hurt
you might as well
anything.
just hit the like
Yeah.
button.
Yeah.
It doesn't
It's
hurt.
all-
We try to upload as many TikToks as we can.
TikTok.
Same thing with Instagram posts and stuff.
Mhm.
So feel free to give us a
Yeah.
follow.
Mhm.
Share it with your friends, especially that. I mean, that'd be really cool.
Yeah.
You
If you
know,
don't mind.
Would make me happy.
might have to start doling out some high fives if you guys.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
Wow.
You know,
That
Yeah.
is
That'd be
pretty.
really cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you can get one too if you.
True.
You just got
I
to
I
share.
might
Yeah.
start liking our
Yep.
stuff.
I'm gonna share this to everyone in my family.
And there it is.
I'm gonna
You
get
heard
that
it here
high
first,
five.
folks.
I'm gonna get that high five. I want
Be
it.
more like Austin.
Yeah. Share with your family, with your coworkers.
Yeah.
Write it on bathroom
Your
stall
exes.
walls.
There you go.
The
Animals,
Dubois Podcast.
everything.
Your enemies.
Dubois.
Don't write it on the
Um,
inside of porta potties though.
Please.
Actually,
that's
don't.
messed up.
why?
And that's hard to clean.
Oh no, you're right. Actually. No, you're right. You're right.
Spoken-
My fault.
All right. Let's get into our character discussion. So, how does everyone come up with their characters? What's your thought process? I guess we can. I don't want to put too much stress on the special guest.
I gotta start
Thank
again.
God.
That's
Yeah.
great.
You keep
Again.
sitting there, man. I'm sorry.
I always
Yeah,
fuck-
we
I
started
I
last
started
week,
over
too.
again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Listen, I
You
can
just
start
gotta
this
swap
one.
seats. I'm
That's
sorry.
Oh,
I
true.
like this seat.
All right.
Yeah.
You're in the hot seat
I
then.
got it. I got it.
It fits you.
Okay.
I would say at least when I first started making D&D characters, because I wasn't I wasn't super good at doing like in-depth backstories. To be honest with you.
Damn.
Oh my god.
Yes.
We have
Gave you,
opposite
like-
problems.
Yeah, I used to be the one reading those backstories.
Yeah.
so-
No, that's
True.
fair, that's
It was
fair.
it was Chance in Austin for mine that had like nothing, right?
Yeah, no, that was
Yeah.
that
Don't
was
chop that
rare
up.
occasion. Nothing at all. For
Yeah.
that was crazy.
I like rocks.
When we get around
Yeah.
to me,
I
it'll
like
make more
rocks and
sense.
soup. Or were you the
Yeah.
one who liked soup?
No,
I
didn't
like
like-
soup.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
his was
You like
soup.
soup, you
This
like
dude was
rock.
like an old man
Yeah,
who just
like
I
my,
was.
my
I don't know.
backstory
I like
was
He, like,
that
picked up a
I was
magic rock and
hanging
got
out with
transported.
Pomone
Yeah.
and Tumba.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
worm soup or something like that, and then I got teleported in.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
That's funny.
Um,
sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I normally base them off like WoW characters that I've made. I play WoW a decent amount. I haven't played it as much
What's WoW?
recently. It's been falling off a little bit. But
Workout World.
World of Warcraft, for those who don't know what WoW is. But I often get like the sort of feel for like a character and like their
Yeah.
sort of like basic sort of like main personality trait. Like, are they fiery? Are they like stoic? Are they like strong? Are they like stealthy? That kind of thing. And then you sort of like I started like build sort of what they look like, and then I started getting into all right. Well, how would they act a little bit? How would they? What's their attitude like?
Right, like get in
that
their
kind of
head,
thing,
like
yeah.
how would they think, how would they react?
Yeah, and then you get on the D&D Beyond. I'm like, all right, how do I kind of what am I feeling for stats? What kind of class really kind of fits with this vibe a little bit?
Yeah.
And then eventually I started like, all right, I'm 100% doing a custom race because I fucking do that every time because I don't have half of the WoW races
That's
anyway.
true,
so.
yeah.
And it's always
Yeah.
fun to sort of just like customize a little bit your own way. I like to
Yeah.
do a lot of custom stuff.
Sometimes, especially too, with like
Yeah.
some of like the base default classes and
Yeah.
things like that. Like they're a little bit restricting. I mean, it's supposed to be like checks and balances and
Yeah.
stuff like that, but it's a little bit
Yeah.
in your hands. You can
Yeah, it's
mold
nice to
it
have something to
better.
base it off of, and then you can
Yeah.
sort of grow from there and sort of do
Exactly.
your own thing.
Yeah.
And then moving into the class and trying to figure out what you want to do for that. And half the time I end up making a subclass that's
Yeah,
special for
sir.
it too. So I just like making them 100% my own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That kind of
Yeah.
thing. It's
Uniquely
that's
you.
the fun part of D&D is that you can be very creative and just sort of do your own thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Oh yeah.
So yeah.
My character creation process is like it's kind of all over the place. I have like a lot of different like things. Most of the time, I'll start with like an idea for a backstory, and then I'll kind of build the character
opposite of
around
me.
that.
Yeah. True.
Yeah, so like I'll have kind of like a theme that I want to represent in a character, or some like setup for trial and tribulation that the character goes through that shapes who they are at the beginning of the story. However, sometimes
Bless you.
sometimes I will have like an idea of a character that might be based off of some like a different type of character or something like that, but most of the times those just stay builds.
Yeah.
And I can't exactly flesh them out, or at least I choose not to until like we might use them.
Yeah.
And another way that I do it is a couple of my characters are based off of songs. So there'll be like a song
Yeah.
that represents something, and then I'll kind of base them around that, and then okay, what class can fit with this, what can do that, and so forth. So I am a yapper when it comes to backstories.
Yeah.
I make very long, very intricate backstories.
You
I
make
try
a
to
D&D campaign for each character.
Right.
Yes.
Hey,
Yeah,
you know, the more you give the DM,
Let's,
the better.
let's see if it actually goes
Yeah.
into
All-
the action. kit.
All the
Yeah.
yeah.
That's the thing is like
Usually it does.
I give the DM as much to work with
Yeah.
as they want, or as little as they want to work with.
Yeah.
The only problem is when I do those stories, I come up with my own
Narrative.
kind of narrative as far as like where the story goes. So
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
whenever it doesn't get there, I'm like, oh man,
Like, oh.
oh shit. But hey,
You gotta
you
dial-
know,
you
You
gotta dial it
gotta
back
leave
a little
True,
bit.
yeah.
something up
Yeah.
to the actual D&D process.
no, that's true. That's true. It's just in my head, I'm just like, man, that'd be really cool.
Yeah.
He's got his own
Right.
headcanon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
all do
kind of my process. I'll just backstory. Also when it comes to naming, most of the time I try to have specific reasons as to why the names are the way that they are. So like if the name might mean something special, or represent like something in the character, or have to do with like the character's familial structure. And for some reason I've noticed a lot of my characters have fake names. I don't know what
Same.
that's about.
I
don't know if it's
like
because
half,
I'm-
like about
Oh.
50-50 for me.
I don't know if it's because I'm insecure about my name in real life, but yeah, most of my characters have like fake names that they go by, or at
Oh,
least
like aliases?
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
not necessarily
characters.
aliases, like either fake names or like they don't go by their birth name.
Oh,
Like
Oh,
nicknames.
they have a
Yeah.
birth name, but they have this name that
Yeah,
they have
yeah.
made for themselves.
Exactly.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Their disguise or mask.
Yeah, yeah.
I only have a couple characters like that.
Mm.
Do you?
I personally feel like I am not the greatest at making characters, at least like story wise. But normally I start out. I don't even name my character when I start it. I skip that.
That's the last thing you do.
Yeah,
Pretty
honestly,
much,
facts,
yeah. I
yeah.
skip it. I go to normally I either have like a character in mind that I want to base them on. Tends to be like an anime character,
Yeah.
or a video game character. So I kind of go based on that. I'll try to look up builds that fit that theme, or I'll just try and like make it myself.
Elf samurai.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm well known in this group for always playing an elf.
Yeah.
I and it's not even that like.
Rogues and Rangers.
Let's say rogues. and
Yeah,
Dragons.
rogues, rangers. I tend to play the same
And then, like,
same
I mean,
types of
it's cool
We
characters.
build,
got, we
though.
got
Uh,
Legolas and we got
Huh?
Yone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Tanjiro.
Oh, yeah.
Tundra. Yeah, so I tend to play an elf, and the reason for that really is mainly just because of like the racial benefits they get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why I just can't detach myself from like.
It's cool.
Dude,
It's
They,
cool.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
we
They
gotta
just
vibe.
they just kind of have great
I
things.
Like
Yeah.
3 lizard folk
Yeah.
for that
That's
reason.
true.
Like,
That's true.
I was stuck in like a racial like class for like
Yeah.
a while. Like that
Yeah.
was my pick.
Trans goes crazy.
Exactly, that's the thing. Is I'm like I
True,
don't ever
actually.
want to get charmed. So you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Plus, like having 4 hours
And
to get a
Yeah,
long
kind of
rest.
long rest,
Come
yeah.
on,
Yeah,
let's go
especially
to.
for spell slots and stuff like that.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to down the line, get away from playing elves. We'll see how that works. But yeah, I normally pick an elf for my race. Classes like rogue, ranger, fighter. I make my characters more like combat based because I am still trying to figure out the whole roleplay aspect of it. I still struggle with that.
Yeah.
Doing backstories is tough for me because I feel like my backstory is just reskinned from each character. Essentially, like the concept is kind of similar,
Yeah.
but just reskinned to fit like
Mhm.
that person's
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
like personality
D&D
and stuff.
is slightly different for everybody too. They
Yeah.
they enjoy it
Yeah.
for slightly different
Yeah.
reasons. So
Yeah.
And I know
not
like
having super in-depth backstory is not something that everyone does.
yeah.
Right, because that's the whole aspect of it. It's a role playing game, so whatever role or whatever way you want to play, that's how you're gonna play.
My
So-
role play is to beat everyone up. And
Yeah.
Right,
Hey, you
but
know.
that's that's
Why
fine.
you always
Like,
have anger management issues.
well, like,
know?
I smirked for a little bit because you were like, I just like making fighters. Like, yeah, because you really like the fight. Like the
Yeah.
like combat. It, like
Yeah.
I think for you, like that's your itch.
Oh, it's my itch. I love
Yeah.
getting into
Yeah,
the fights, and I love just being a DPS person.
Yes,
you
sir.
know?
and you do pretty good.
Thank you.
Fact.
But yeah, once I have like my class, and all that stuff picked out, the names, I don't think I ever. It's very rare that I give them like a first and last name, and even then, the names don't have. They're not like based like on how Sean said, like on a song or like, anything in mind. It's just like, oh,
This name sounds
this
cool.
yeah, this name sounds
Yeah.
cool. I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, cool. I'm gonna go with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's kind of really mainly how I go through my character building. I like to mainly focus on playing out the damage.
Yeah.
I respect
I
it.
play
Sure.
fighters.
Yeah, low key.
Hey, we need at least like 1 or 2 people who are going to be focused
Yeah.
on like the
Putting out-
fighting aspect. you
Yeah.
know. Everyone else can be the talkers and stuff
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that, you know.
No.
Pretty much.
I'm just in the back, so if someone's starting trouble, I just give them the
Just-
look.
yeah.
Like, say the word, I'm in
It's
there.
like,
Bothering you?
yeah.
I always accidentally intentionally nerf myself anyway, so I'm not doing it. I'm not
Yeah.
doing damage.
Been
Yeah.
there. Been there.
Yeah, you can be a talker, bro. Yeah, we need him too.
Yeah, that's fair.
Making your race your like single race based feature give you points of exhaustion every single time that you
Sure.
use it.
Yeah, wild.
That was one time, okay? I was really into the idea and I was trying to work something
it's
out.
cool,
I went a
though.
little too far.
Yeah,
but
I feel you. Yeah, yeah,
Maybe like a half point. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
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 no.
0.5 exhaustion.
Yeah. Me, I have nothing to add. I don't really make characters, I just.
What do you?
Okay.
Hey, hey,
How's the
just
100
pull up his
characters
D&D
you
on.
have
yeah, I was
on?
like, out of
D&D
curiosity,
on
how
right
many
now, I'll show
characters
you
you
the
got?
Good idea,
How many
make
have
it.
you played?
Honestly, no. Yeah. Existing. I just exist and I make a character, at least like a character a day. It's bad. But no, I get inspiration from like anything. I'll like listen to a podcast and be like,
Yeah.
like another D&D podcast. You'll be like, oh, they have this one singular ability. I'm gonna base a whole character off of it, or like a concept like Spider-Verse, like the whole like multi-dimensional thing. Make a character off of it.
Yeah.
Like just I'll see like a subclass and be like, I'm gonna make it, or I'm gonna wreck it. Yeah, no, I just have like 80 something characters in D&D Beyond.
Yes, sir.
80?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
I got rid of
This
a couple
man
too.
makes characters.
Yeah.
He's putting that subscription to use.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
True, I guess it's fair.
Yeah, character creation is probably like my favorite part. Well, I love playing, but character creation is like one of the most like probably my favorite. Like playing is very fulfilling and satisfying and can be very interesting, but just something about crafting the character and the backstory, even though only like half of my characters actually have backstories.
Yeah.
I
I mean, sometimes it's just fun when you have like a character like you
Yeah.
don't think that much about, but it's just a fun character to play as.
Yeah.
So you don't have to think that much. You could just play.
Yeah.
Well, it's similar to Chance. Like Chance makes characters in WoW just to make them because
Yeah.
he likes to design them. You
Yeah,
like to make
yeah.
characters in
Yeah.
D&D because you like to design
like
them.
the different combinations
Right,
I can make
I
and
know
the potential.
you're very much like an aesthetic person too.
Yeah.
So, like
Yeah.
their look
Mhm.
is very important.
Yes,
to you,
sir.
so-
Of course.
And even like when we play video games, you're in like the
The
design
character-
studio.
Yeah, I
like,
gotta
like,
go
making
crazy.
it
Oh,
as
man.
trippy and
Huh.
sexy as
Yes.
possible.
You
that kind of
already
thing.
know.
Playing character customization games
Yeah.
with this dude.
Yeah.
You know, you gotta have him start an hour before you
Low-key.
start.
Honestly, yeah.
Got to get the fit right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting. Like seeing different races, different classes, different combinations, and how many different ways you can like take like one subclass and be like, oh, it's arguably specifically designed for this one thing, and see how you can twist it and flavor it to be something totally different. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of characters. Love it.
So, my approach is, okay. I think like I take a little bit from everyone else's camp where it's like sometimes like I have something that I've had from something else and I'll kind of incorporate it into like a character. Sometimes I get really invested with a character, backstory and everything, and it'll have nothing to do with what we're actually playing.
that's
Like
my
whole
favorite part.
paragraphs and be like, okay, but how is this?
Yeah,
does
like,
this have to
why are
do-
you here?
How does this
though?
tie in?
Yeah, why?
I know why you're there, but why
Yeah.
are you here?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll just miss the point. Here's the point. There I am. Sometimes I just really like to spec, especially because I love multi-classing. Sometimes I really want to spec to make like just a really like
Beefy
competent,
man.
be
Mhm.
like good character.
Himbos.
And then sometimes
True.
it's just the flavor. It's just the flavor.
Flavor.
And I also like to take a lot of inspiration from things I see in pop culture. Like Traxxas, which was one of my lizard folk characters, was literally the Predator. One of them, who I'm trying to,
Not that.
My
He's
fault,
not
my
a
fault.
predator. He's the
Oh,
predator.
Okay.
but like I've like taken the camp of like
Capital
you like
P.
this pop culture
Okay.
character, you can make him a D&D character and still make it different from what he's actually from. Like I made a Witcher for one of your
True.
one
Yeah.
shots.
Yep.
I've done like different things like that where it's like Zorro, the impromptu like pirate one shot we did. That
Oh,
was
yeah.
I was trying to play Zorro / Puss in Boots because I really wanted to play a swashbuckler rogue. So
That's okay.
sometimes
that one shot doesn't count. So
No,
So,
I counted.
but-
No, I counted.
Yeah, that's a lot.
It's in here forever.
it exists. But the
Do
idea
a part
being
two
that-
so I can be in it. Do a part two so I can be in it.
But the actual like process of doing it, it'll sometimes it depends. Sometimes I get inspired. Sometimes I just need to come up with something for like whatever we're doing, and then sometimes I'm just so focused on like playing a certain type of character, like backstory doesn't really matter that
Yeah.
much. So it kind of depends on the situation. The one thing I will say is I overthink a lot, especially
Yeah, I
when
find that you have a knack that when you get an idea for one thing,
yeah, it's
no
hard.
matter
That's it.
how many times that thing fails, you are going to
Yeah.
keep trying that thing. So
Yeah.
like for the Halloween one,
yeah.
you just kept trying to grapple, even
Yeah.
though it
Dude,
would not,
'cause
it
you
would
failed
not
about
work
5
out.
times.
I did, but I'm like, this is
Yeah.
my character's for grappling. I have to grapple.
I made the character. It was not based around
Yeah.
grappling.
Damn.
You had
Yeah.
4
So there's a-
arms and like 5 attacks. I was just trying to get you to just
Attack.
JoJo blast fools. You
Yes,
know what I
yeah.
mean?
You know, to your point, I get very like stuck in a certain track where it's like maybe the intent of what I'm trying to be playing. Like I'll like, okay, so I think I'm supposed to do this, this, and this. All right, I gotta make sure I do this, this, and this then. And then stuff will happen like, well, I think I could still try and do it. And then y'all are looking at me like, buddy, you could just drop it.
True. Yeah.
It's okay.
You know, sometimes you just got to adapt. You know?
Yeah, yeah.
Situations
So
change.
yeah,
you know,
we're
you
on a
could-
whole new mission right at this point.
Yeah,
we're
like,
good. We're good to
so
change it
The
up.
DM doesn't even have control over where the
Right.
it's
That's
gonna
true.
go. Never
That's
mind the
true.
player.
Yeah.
So I can adapt based on what the situation is in terms of character creation, but once I have made the character,
Yeah.
it's very rigid. Like I'm very stuck in like what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at.
Hey, but that's all right.
Yeah,
True.
that's how it goes.
Yeah.
Also, I'm the opposite of you. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. You can't. Sorry, if you're doing your thing, keep going.
To our
I'm just.
special guest.
Yeah,
I-
seriously.
Hey, honestly, I'll see myself.
Go
out.
take-
I'll
yeah,
just-
go take
I
a
had
lap.
nothing. I was like I was gonna say something and then I forgot even what.
Oh,
It was. So
damn, it's my fault.
go off.
But also, I'm the opposite to you, where like name is most of the time like the last thing I think about because I'm terrible at naming things.
Yeah.
Oh,
I hit
also
the
name-
randomizer and I'm like,
Yeah,
these
and
names
I'm like,
kind of
yeah.
suck.
Yeah.
I'm gonna see if I can
Whatever
take something
sounds
from
right.
it.
Yeah, I'm
What
like,
sounds
oh, that's
good.
kind of cool, and then I'll
Yeah.
put like a list.
Sometimes there's like, well, if it's this kind of character, then like maybe I should take something from like maybe some mythology, like Greek
Yeah.
mythology
Yeah.
or
I'd-
something.
yeah.
Occasionally,
like
I'll
that.
come up with a name first and base a character around that name.
Okay,
Sometimes
I
that
see.
happens too.
I did
Okay.
that with Helios.
Okay. Oh yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
What?
Who'd have figured?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was say I never make a name first,
Mhm.
but at some point I'm just like, all right, I have to have a name because this is a person now. I'm just
Okay.
like,
Yeah.
what sounds kind of cool and very vaguely relates to the feel that I made for
Mhm.
the character.
Yeah.
So like I think like when I named Linux, it was just like it sounds kind of close to like Fennec and
Yeah.
like Fox, and that
Fox,
kind of
yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah,
was
those
like,
big
that's
leagues.
close enough, and
That's
I'll
cool.
I'll see what vibe I want later.
Yeah.
I think Linux is a very fitting.
Yeah,
name.
it
Yeah,
does.
it is,
really
yeah.
is.
I
Yeah,
don't know
I-
if it's just because we've known him as that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it fits him, like his
Yeah.
personality as
Yeah.
well. Like it just
Yeah.
seems like he's
He's like
Linux.
when I hear Linux, I think of like a jittery guy. Who
yeah, a little bit,
Yeah.
a little mischievous guy.
scratching
Yeah,
his
yeah,
You're like-
yeah.
He's coked out a little
Yeah.
bit.
a little
As long as
cool,
the
yeah.
name fits the vibe, I'm like, that's good enough.
Yeah, definitely watch your
Yeah.
pockets around this guy.
Yeah.
I will also add that you know, with my backstories not being so great, the DMs tend to have to pick up the slack for me. But I will say
that's
no.
okay.
Sometimes
Before you guys say anything, I will say they have done a great job at like coming up with things to add to my
Fit
backstory.
things in, yeah.
You know, so I do appreciate that. But
See, here's the thing. I don't think your backstories are bad. I think they're just lacking certain specific details. I think
Yeah.
that's my only thing. Is like,
okay,
like especially because for a couple of mine, you've done like a prominent family without naming that prominent
Yeah,
family or
I
like
guess
where
it's
they
true.
kind of
Yeah, yeah.
exist in
Mhm.
the world.
okay.
But like as far as the events that go down, it's still like good and it's enough to like work as a backstory.
Right.
It's just missing some of the specific details that
Yeah.
like solidify it into like this exists in this world and it's a permanent kind of thing.
I only
you know
talk
what I mean?
about the character.
Huh?
I only talk about the character. I'm like,
Yeah,
yeah, he has a
yeah.
mom and a dad, but like it's about him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. No, that's not bad.
Yeah,
And
that's
even
why
like-
for the sorry.
I was gonna say, and even for me, like, I like doing this thing where like I like to propose questions to get like the person thinking about certain things as well as like not even just like what if this happened. It's not. It's like okay, well, what does this look like for them? Or like,
Yeah.
are you trying to go in this direction or that direction? Or like, who's like an inspiring like what's a point of inspiration for you in terms of where the character comes from? Like, are you trying to emulate a certain thing or that thing? Like that kind of stuff. At least for me, if I'm getting stuck, those are the kind of questions I would want someone to ask me. So I'm going from
Yeah.
that frame of reference. But that I've never like felt like is like he sucks. I gotta help this
Thanks.
dude.
Bro, this
It's
trash.
it's always been like it's like okay, well I can see where he's going, so let me see if I can just help him kind of find
it's
it
sort
the
of
way he wants
a little
to
bit
go
of
to it.
responsibility to the DM to sort of like guide you as like
Yeah.
what information they need as well. Like so like
Yeah.
the whole reason I was just like, all right, I want you guys to give me family member names
Yeah.
and like what like a day in the life for the Harry
Yeah.
Potter one shot. So I was
Yeah.
like, give this is what I need. This is what I sort of have for an idea of how I'm going to structure like the start of things. So think about that specifically, and that can sort of
Yeah.
help guide the player to sort
Yeah.
of make a.
That's
a
why,
more in-depth backstory.
That's why session zeros are so good.
Yeah.
Yes.
They
so
are
like
very
important
Yeah.
because it allows each player to get those questions in person so that they can then
Yeah.
kind of work out
Yeah.
what they want to do and like who
Yeah.
those characters are
and sort of like feel out connections between the other players and
Yeah.
stuff ahead of
Yeah.
time so that you're not just like, I don't know who these people are, even though you've supposedly your characters have known them for years.
yeah, that's also true.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
there was something I was going to say something before Chance said that had to do with
Was it about my backstory stuff?
I think so. Oh yeah. So sometimes when I have like a plot line that I think would be really cool, because ultimately I want to be surprised. But sometimes there are narrative things that I'm like, I feel like if this happened, it'd be really cool. So what I'll do is I'll kind of like, I'll like sprinkle
Yeah.
the
You could
path,
go this way
the
if you
steps
wanted
into
to.
my backstory. Like I'll leave certain things vague but kind
Yeah.
of pointed.
Yeah.
So that way maybe the DM will be like, okay, like to try to lead the DM into
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
You trying to manipulate me, man?
Kind of a little bit.
I
but
can't be put in a box.
But ultimately, I do want to be surprised. So you know, the DM
Yeah.
obviously will take their own steps. Also, the DM doesn't have the same brain as I do.
That's
Right.
true.
That's true.
Yeah.
Um,
And you
They also
have
don't give brain like I do. Anyways,
Whoa, how you know that?
you have like a DM mindset when you make your
Yeah.
characters a lot of
Yeah,
times.
that is.
So,
That's-
well,
what do
that's
you
why
mean?
that's why I said kind of like your backstories are campaigns.
Yeah.
So like you have an idea of how the entire story goes before the story happens.
Yeah.
So
Sometimes.
yeah, you're hoping that the DM will sort of guide it in that
Kinda like-
direction, but
Like, hey,
Like,
Yeah,
the DM
like-
has their completely own campaign and
thing going
idea
on,
of how
yeah.
things are going to go.
Right.
So if
Yeah.
it doesn't match up, you're going to naturally sort of feel
Yeah.
like, but it didn't happen.
Yeah.
See,
Fuck.
but if those things don't happen, then I get to like talk about it with you guys.
Yeah.
So,
That
Right,
is also
like-
This
true.
is
like-
kind of what would have been cool if it
Yeah.
happened this
Yeah.
way. But
Alternate reality.
ultimately, what does end up happening usually ends up being good anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah.
no matter what, you're no
And
matter what, it's
sometimes
W's. You know
I,
what I mean?
I even really love like those moments like post session when we're like thinking about like things that we were thinking or things that could have gone the way. Like it's kind of like that same feeling where I feel like, oh wow, it really could have gone that way, could it? Like it's just nice playful thinking, even if it doesn't go the way you would think it would go.
Yeah.
To just be like to share that with other people and stuff like that. To kind of like feel like you still get to almost experience it in a way,
Mhm.
even if it doesn't happen in the moment. I don't know if that does that make sense.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I get it.
Yeah. So like for example, for like as far as like the whole like names informing the characters as opposed to the other way around. So for like Lux and Tenebris,
Of course,
Yeah.
yeah.
it started out with just Tenebris. Because I was like, oh, all right, I got to make a
Lux
character
was
for
the
this like random,
afterthought.
this
Crazy.
Yeah,
random
he was,
thing. No,
yeah.
actually, Lux is just
Still
Tenebris'
is.
brother.
Bro!
Somebody save this boy.
And I was like, okay, Tenebris, because it was like a warlock or something. So I was like, okay, Tenebris, that's like dark in Latin or darkness in Latin.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, so there's that. I'll make him a warlock because that's like sounds kind of evil. Why not?
Yeah.
And he'll be like kind of a bad guy, but not like an evil guy, just kind of bad.
He's still cool.
Yeah. And then I was like, okay, Tenebris, and I was like, all right, well, what if he has a brother?
Mhm.
What would his brother's name be? Light, of course.
Mhm.
What's light in Latin? Lux. I was like, okay, well, Lux, I feel like that doesn't have quite the punch.
Yeah.
So then I was like, okay, I'll extend it out a little bit. Lucius. That's where that name comes
Mhm.
from, and that's why I spelled Lux as opposed to like
Yeah.
Lucious or whatever.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, it still works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that's the thing where it's like I have like an idea or a name, and then I'll build a character, and then funnily enough, that character wasn't even the character
Yeah.
that I ended up
Yeah.
playing
Yeah.
because
Because you
then
build
I
a
made
whole
his brother, and
world.
I was like, well, hold on.
Yeah.
Kind of cool.
Hold on.
Let him
He
cook. Let him
made
cook.
like 8 siblings.
Yeah.
And,
No, I have
a whole
I have
hierarchy.
13 siblings.
Oh,
or
shit.
something.
Yeah,
He picked the
let
character.
it be known, this man has an entire shonen manga like in this one character in itself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he comes from a noble clan of sorcerers, but he himself is born without sorcerer's powers.
Yep.
Yeah.
So he had to work for his. It really is just anime, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Work for
I
his
was not
abilities
kidding.
and-
I was
yeah.
not kidding.
So
Yeah.
he's also like an underdog and slept on, and then
He's like
Like the
a
protagonist of a
super
shonen
duper
manga.
underdog.
My God.
Oh my
He's like a super duper underdog.
yeah, especially
You have-
because when I was
You have your Sasuke. I mean,
yeah,
you know.
true.
True.
Yeah, my,
I think
like,
you two
Sasuke character.
definitely had the most, specifically for that campaign, like the
Mhm.
most like anime like characters. and
Yeah.
stuff, like,
I mean, you
okay.
were like budget. Sorry, that's
But-
Damn.
Yeah.
I
Wow.
Discount.
All right, no more special guest Austin here. Get out.
You're great value.
Yikes.
I misspoke. Helios is lovely. I love him very much.
Yeah,
He was kind of coded. Sorry, he was Avatar coded. He was coded to be kind of
Yeah,
like the Avatar.
I'll,
Yeah.
I'll when we get to the next part, I want to skip too ahead. I'll
Okay.
explain
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I'm gonna talk about more than one character, but I'll get
Yeah,
into more
okay.
about Helios. I don't want to say too much during this part.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. What was I saying before?
You're talking about Lucius and Tenebris, how you named them, and
Yeah.
what
You
it
like
was-
made him first, and then
Yeah,
made Lux
what it was
as like
based
kind of an
on.
afterthought. But you ended up meaning I ended up like playing Lux like
Yeah.
before you even
I
played Tenebris and stuff.
lost the thread.
Damn.
Hey, maybe
I
it'll
lost
come
the
back.
thread.
Yeah,
It'll
we
come
can-
back.
yeah, we
sometime.
can always
We can
come
hop on
back.
the
Yeah.
character.
True,
This
true.
won't be
Yeah.
the last time we talk
Any-
about Lux today.
Yeah. I guess for is there anything to wrap up for character creation process?
I was gonna say, yeah. Anyone?
Um,
Any final notes?
oh,
or,
yeah. So build is also very important to me. So when I
like
come
physically.
up with
you mean?
Yes.
no, like the mechanical,
Yeah.
the mechanical
Gotcha.
build.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do have a tendency. Well,
Hmm?
tendency is a strong word.
You have.
There's
it
I have a
occurs.
decent amount of twinks,
Yeah.
but you know, it's
I don't think so.
no. Maybe.
I think Lux was like the main one because
Yeah,
like
Lux is
Bartholomew,
definitely
I
one.
don't picture him as one.
Yeah, he's not. Yeah, he's not. He's not really. Yeah. No, you're right. Actually.
Yeah, I
Maybe
feel like
don't
for the
have-
most part
I
you're
have a
like
tendency
normal.
to draw twinks, but
There
I
you
don't
go.
have.
Yeah.
There you
That's
go.
what it is.
Yeah, so the build is also a very important thing. So when I come up with the backstory, I work through all of that, and then I'll be like, okay, with this kind of thing going, what would be an interesting build to complement this? So
Yeah.
for Lux, for example, I
Yeah.
should actually Lux might
Yeah.
be. I'm not gonna talk about him anymore. So
favorite
for another character of mine,
is-
no, because he's also one of the one I want to talk about.
We could just.
I mean, if
move
you want-
on.
yeah, if you
we
wanna-
could
Yeah,
just
it
move
doesn't-
on. We
Okay.
could just
All right,
move on.
before we move on, anyone got any final like what they do when they're making a character they want to talk
yeah.
about before we get into our favorite characters?
I guess to get into kind of the like where the DM takes the story versus like kind of how you envision it thing. For
Yeah.
me personally, obviously it's impossible to not be like, oh, this would be kind of cool. But for me, I will like write when I like out of the 4 backstories I've written, I'll like write like a backstory and I'll try to like. You know, I'm a little insecure about my writing skills, so I like write
for
like
no reason. By the
I'll
way.
write like as much as I can. I'll be like, what are like the main events that have happened that have led this character up to like this point,
Yeah.
and then I'll like flush them out, and then afterwards I'm like, I hope this is okay, but I will like do all of that and be like, here is hopefully this very strong foundation of where he is and how he got
Yeah.
here, but after that I'm like.
Here you
It's,
go.
it's up to the DM.
Yeah.
I don't want to think about. I don't
Yeah.
want to.
Yeah,
Too
you
many
really
expectations.
open-ended.
I was
Yeah.
I was gonna
to
mention
piggyback
that.
off of
Yeah.
that, I have a tendency, and maybe this is why I struggled at first with like writing my backstories. I have a tendency to want to be reactive in the situation, so it's like I was struggling to figure out, and eventually I kind of figured it out a little bit better. I wanted to give nuggets for the DM to work with, but then I wanted to still be reactionary to whatever they wanted to present because I didn't want to set an expectation for myself. So I would always try to like create like at least like a history, and then hopefully there would be enough things to work off of that would build into like situations that would be new that I would not expect as a player. So that I also do that.
Happening, I lost my brain.
Dang.
You want
Well, it had to do with what you were saying. Were you gonna say something though?
I was, but if you are like on the brink of
no,
remembering,
go ahead.
something,
No, I'll try to think about it while you're going.
okay. It was kind of similar to what they were saying. Like I make my backstory, but it kind of sounds bad, but like I don't expect much to be delved into my character. I like to experience like the story that the DM has come up with.
Yeah.
Going through those events. Obviously, if I don't know the party, like getting to know them and seeing how those relationships work out, I like to do like enjoy that part.
Yeah.
Which is why I feel like I tend to just make my story in like one go. I don't like make it over days. I just like one
Yeah.
night I'm like, oh, whatever, I'm gonna type this whole thing out, and I'm like, all right, that's my backstory. I'm not gonna touch it ever again,
Yeah.
unless someone's like, hey, answer this for me.
Yeah.
And that makes a good point because I think that sometimes we get caught up in like things that we've seen as well
Yeah.
related to Dungeons and Dragons, where it's like the backstory is so important. Like it's really important to like really shock your player with things that you bring from their past that like the other members of their party would not know, and that's good and fun. But like also like you're still adventuring with your group. That's also just as important.
Yeah,
as
you
well.
gotta leave some stuff up to
Yeah, the
Yeah.
story being told in the game is just as important as the story that
Yeah.
sets your foundation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You got your point back.
It had to do with something that you were talking about.
Me writing story. It was like me being like, oh, like I'm insecure and I feel like they're not very good, kind
No,
of
it was
thing.
Before that is when you were talking about like
Setting up like main events and then elaborating.
It was something along that line.
Oh,
Damn. I wish I had a normal brain.
we can take it.
Well, if you think about it, you can
Yeah.
pause us
I'll
in the
just be
moment.
like, everyone stop! I remembered.
But let's get into our favorite characters.
I might have to pull out the list really quick.
You know,
Hold on.
totally understandable.
Start taking notes. That's what
the
I need
list
to
of
do.
80 characters you have.
Yes.
Yeah. I
Let's
guess you could
see.
use your
Scroll
phone, but
for next hour.
this time, now that he's been here for a little bit, he's warmed up with talking. We're gonna let Austin take the stand here.
Hey, all right.
I know my list.
Okay.
Oh, he also.
For what it's worth, I guess. While all this.
Nice.
I fall in love with like most of the characters that I play, especially
Like romantically,
a little bit, yeah. No, but like for a lot
like
of
your
them-
children. You make them.
Exactly. Like especially when I really get to like sit in their shoes for more than like a couple sessions, I really, really start to just like I'm like just want to keep them all here and hug
They
them.
become
and
yours.
I love them, and
Truly.
Except for Lux.
Well, see, no, I love. Well, we'll talk about that.
Yeah,
I love Lux the most, but I'm the meanest to
Go
him.
back
Yeah.
1 inch.
I
You're good.
I agree with that for like me, but I think there's only really two that I like genuinely love. Not that I hate the rest of them,
Yeah.
but it's just like
You don't
there's
have
two
the same
that I
attachment to them.
I like. I don't know. I feel like I did the most as like a player with those two characters compared to like the rest that I
that
that I had
definitely
done.
helps for sure.
Yeah.
So for characters that were the favorite for me to play, I have a few, but for different reasons.
There we go.
Because in
It's
this
yapping time.
Start the clocks.
in this friend group, we like to play a lot of like one shots and things like that. So I've had to make different characters for various different one shots. So some of the ones that were kind of my favorites were some of the the ones that I've had the most fun playing as. So for example, you had the hero one shot. The character that I made for that,
was a
Iron
cool
Blood
one.
Mayhem, which he was supposed to be a superhero, but he
He's more
looked
of a
and his
anti-hero
powers.
now.
Yeah.
Or a
He,
Venom kind of.
Yeah,
he's
sure.
kind of like if the Thing was sharp and pointy and had a tail and claws. So
And like Swedish.
Yeah.
he was Swedish and never
Swedish.
slept. That was very important for his
Yeah.
character. He never slept. He was an insomniac. So that was one of the times where I made a backstory. It had nothing to do with what we were doing. Like,
yeah, I remember reading it.
Oh man, I remember
and,
now.
and I was like, okay, how did your character get to New Jersey?
Yeah.
like I was Swedish. I was the son of an ambassador. He got
mountains.
murdered.
Yeah.
Another thing about you and the way you write your backstories, you never. I kind of admire this a little bit.
Okay.
You never write them the same. They're always structured differently.
Yeah.
So like with Tungsten,
Yeah.
like it was just kind of like a retelling of his story
From
but
his
then
point of
for-
view, yeah.
For IBM,
Yeah.
it was like through
Like a
journal entries?
Yeah.
But then the journal entries were so separated that it was like, what happened in between this?
Yeah.
That like
Like there was
influenced-
days at a time. They weren't
Yeah.
daily.
Who are these characters that you're talking
Yeah.
about because they haven't showed up yet?
Yeah.
So it's very interesting that like you're at least from the ones that I've read, your backstories are structured differently
Yeah.
each time you write them. So I think
I like to
that's
take a
pretty
different
cool.
approach. every
Yeah,
time.
no, I think that's cool.
Yeah, so that was really fun to play. I did kind of goof a little bit because I misunderstood the mechanics of the character. But I think I had really like a good time because I like playing big boys, and
Yeah.
he was a big boy that I liked playing.
Yeah.
Especially
boy.
because he was durable and he was able to like get a lot done with just like punching and kicking and stuff. Because that was a monk barbarian build. That was a bonk.
Nice.
It was fun. So that was one of my favorite ones. Narratively, so far, because Dragonlance, the campaign we play, has been at least the most invested character I've had for a campaign yet. Tungsten Ironstone is one of my favorite campaign characters that I've made.
Yeah.
Because I think that there's a lot of potential in things that I've made in the character's backstory that I haven't done in other character backstories that I think that'll definitely be like very, very nice meaty content. So I like that. Plus, I just love. I've never played a paladin before, and he's a paladin, and it feels so cool. I know people always talk about how paladins are fun to play. It is fun.
Dope.
And I think that because his subclass is, oh my god, Oath of Glory. And Oath of Glory is one that isn't always the best in terms of like this is the most viable paladin option. Like it's not, but I think there's just a lot of flavor in there in itself that it feels like it's just a fun experience to play as him. And I think it's just he's a little bit of a Boy Scout, so it's I like the banter, especially like when we're playing and your mom is always like ragging on me or pulling
Yeah.
pranks on me. I think that's fun. It's fun to play as Tungsten. I like
He's our
Tungsten.
Captain America.
Yeah, he is. He is. And then I have one other character I'm going to talk about. So one character that's on the bench right now that I've invested the most time into is Barrow, my lizard
It's
folk.
coming. It's
Yeah.
coming.
So for his homebrew campaign, I
Hey, yo.
made a lizard folk, and I've messed with his build a little bit, and that's kind of like less important. The thing that I've loved the most about making him and why he's one of my favorite characters is like that was the most in depth I've gotten with like not just character backstory, but almost world building from where the character comes from.
Yeah, no, I really appreciated that you like straight up to the point where a village that you talked about, like, and that's sorry to divert a little bit.
No, you're good.
Like from you guys, I would love for you guys to just make up something entirely that I can then just place
place in
somewhere
your
in
world,
my
on
world.
a map.
Yeah.
Because that way it feels like you know that place because you made it up. You know
Yeah.
what I
Yeah.
mean? And,
Yeah.
and also it gives things to fill my world too, so it makes my job a little
Right.
bit
I
easier.
Right,
want
right.
a floating island in the sky.
Nice.
Those exist, so
Yeah.
Say less.
It's like I made not only
yeah.
his village, I made his village surrounded by all the other villages.
Yep.
I made the structure of how they work together,
Oh, yeah.
what their different tasks
you
are. I
also
thought
made the town that where his like kind of somewhat inciting incident happens too.
Yep, I did that. I also incorporated a character from another thing that we played as well into the story as like sort of like a mentor figure. I made the situation as to like how his character, that character, the mentor one, why he was in like a one shot we did in the same homebrew world
Yep.
and why they're connected to my main character. Like that was the most dedicated I got to investing literally, narratively
Mhm.
into the character.
Mm.
Like if I'm gonna talk about best characters and favorite characters, like it's gonna be him on
Nice.
the list
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
because I had a lot of fun making that.
Yes, sir.
Nice.
So very cool, very cool.
This
Okay.
year, this year, this year, this year,
This year. This year.
I hope.
this.
Oh,
year.
okay.
It's
I
going,
see
to
what you're
it's going
saying.
to start this year.
I hope.
I swear.
I pray.
Yes.
Some backstory. Some of us have been sitting on characters for
Years.
2
Wow, yeah.
years.
Yeah.
Borrow, I think.
Years.
I've been sitting on this campaign for like 6 years.
Yeah, 6 years.
And then
So
you guys have been sitting on your character. You've been sitting on your character for probably the same amount of time.
Yeah.
100%.
Since I
Yeah.
think, like senior, junior year, around there.
basically. Yeah,
I
so even
wa-
longer.
I want to say it was pre-COVID when we were first like
yeah,
in
when we
talks
first
of
started
it.
talking about it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's been a while.
Yeah.
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 It's been a long time.
Sure.
But it's
Speaking of, he since you brought up an unplayed one, so I'll have. It's tough. So for my favorite played character, it's a tie between Haven, that's my boy, and
sure.
Atash, my two like chaos characters. I just
Dude.
when I'm in my element, I love it.
Chaos
Just
characters are so much fun.
low
for you.
key.
That-
But like they are two not very different, but like Haven was more like innocent, like playful chaos
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
he was a little
Just did what he wanted.
Yeah,
If he got in
was-
trouble, then it happens.
yeah, a little more innocent to and like naive. More.
I think naive's a good word. It's not like
Yeah.
saying he's a child.
Yeah.
I think
he's not like stupid.
it's,
Yeah,
it's,
yeah.
He's
yeah,
just
it's
not aware.
He's
Yeah.
not
Blissful
experienced
ignorance.
in the world.
exactly.
Yeah.
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 So yeah, and that kind of that led to very many hijinks.
Yes.
But Atash has no excuse.
Yeah,
He's
Akash is
just-
in like a prestigious magical school
Yeah.
that is like nearly impossible to get
Low-key.
into.
Yeah, Atash is honestly just blew me. I made him, and when I started playing him, I was like, he's just me.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna make him me.
I don't even think that was like a decision you
No,
made.
I
It
just
just
act-
ended
like-
up kind of happening that way.
Low key. But yeah, so like you're saying, he's like in like a wizarding magic in general school. And he comes from like a family of dwarves. Oh brother.
But he himself is not a dwarf.
Yeah. And he's not washing grandma.
Yeah, watching grandma is his dwarf clan's
like
like
tradition.
family familial
Yeah.
tradition.
He's not, he refuses to do
He
it.
refuses to wash
I'm
grandma,
not
and
gonna,
therefore
I'm not going to be a part of the family. This
Yeah.
is not.
he only has to do it the one time, but he won't get it over with.
Yeah,
so
he's like, I
he may get
refuse.
excommunicated. I don't
Yeah,
know.
hey, he'll figure it out.
He's a
Which-
Vidalcan though, right?
Yeah.
Which,
Because that was the first time.
Is
there
he
were, like,
unplayed?
Huh?
You said is it unplayed or
No,
you
he's,
No,
played,
he's
he
the
was,
played one, yeah,
the
yeah.
part 2 of the magical school.
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
My
Oh.
Harry Potter.
Yeah.
world,
Yeah.
or
He
not
was-
World, but yeah.
I was because I heard of the Vidalcan. And I was like, seems
You
kind of cool.
copied
What
me,
is
not
that?
the other way around.
Huh?
Even though mine's after, you copied me.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
That's how it
Yeah.
works.
Yeah. But yeah, no, he's pretty cool. He started off as like the kid who like sleeps in class, and then but he's there for like wood shop. He's like, hell yeah, and he just does kind of the first thing that he's in love with a girl, and like the first mission was to save the girl's like dead girlfriend, and because he was in love with the girl the whole time, he was like, oh man,
He's a lesbian.
yeah, yeah, good time. But yeah, my two like very much like the first thing that comes to mind, just do it characters.
Yeah.
And then for my favorite unplayed one is Ash, and I can't like talk about it because obviously,
Yeah.
A lot of secret
Yeah,
news.
but-
yeah.
There's a lot of stuff that me and you have discussed.
yeah,
For Ash.
oh for sure,
And
that
there's
are
stuff-
dope.
And the worst part about them bringing up their campaign characters for my campaign world
Mhm.
is that I know things that are going to happen,
Yeah.
and I want to talk about them
But you cannot.
with someone,
Yeah.
but I can't.
Yeah.
There's no one that I can talk to about it.
It is the DM's curse.
It
Really
sucks.
can't.
It's
Really.
just
we
like,
need to make a
"Oh."
support
Yeah.
group
Yeah.
for anonymous DMs to meet,
No, not
discuss,
their
Yeah.
ideas.
and they are not involved in any way with the campaign.
We like both like a
This-
couple of us enter and then it's like this character sounds familiar. Yo, Sean.
Oh, no.
Supposed to be anonymous.
Because honestly, listen, we're talking about mental health being a thing. We need to think about our DMs, all right? The DM
yeah.
health, all right?
Oh,
They need to
yeah.
be able to get this thing off their chest.
Yes, sir. But yeah, he is. So after it was like during campaign 2 for Critical Role. The Critical Role is what kind of introduced my brother and Critical Role are kind of what introduced me to like Dungeons and Dragons. So I've had a very deep fascination, which has turned into like a love over time. But yeah, so I saw Molly Mock and I was like, Blood Hunter, that sounds dope. That's a bar.
Yeah.
So I think when it became like available, like for even like play testing in D&D Beyond, I was like copping that. And then I got the idea for like fire. It's my natural affinity, even though technically it's not. But for me, fire's like my favorite element. So I just like I kind of based him off of like the fire aspect of like the blood curses and the
So
stuff
that's
like
why
that.
he's called Ash.
Partially.
Oh.
And so I was like, okay. And then I think around that time, a little bit after, like fire, like the Genasis became like public, whatever too. So I was like, oh, I gotta make it. He has a theme. That's my thing. I like themes. To the point where sometimes it's detrimental. So I was fire Genasi with like the fired blood hunter stuff. So, I like formulated him in my head and I like built him. I think like on paper at first. And then I think whenever me and Sean started eventually talking about D&D and stuff, I like pitched
He introduced me to D&D. So
Huh.
Nice.
I was expecting the other way around.
no.
Huh.
No.
I was introduced to it, and once I really like got what D&D was,
Mhm.
I fell so deeply in love with it that like
It's practically
it's
like a-
annoying, honestly.
it is a key character trait.
No, it's really bad, and I'm really insecure about it because whenever we have like new friends kind of come around, immediately I'm like,
Wonder if they like D&D.
I wonder if they like D&D or if they
Wonder
would.
if they would like it.
Hey, do you want to play D&D?
You know,
You want
it's-
to play some D&D
it's
with
just-
us?
it's
Like kind of cool.
Dungans and Dragons?
Yeah.
Do you like dice?
And the thing is I know it's not for everyone,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but I so deeply want it to be because I just
Yeah.
want to play with just so many. I want to play with
True.
so many different people
Right.
Yeah.
and all that stuff.
Well, so the DM's curse, that's the dungeon, that's the player curse. That
Yeah,
you
both.
just
Yeah, true, actually.
That's-
Yeah.
you have so many things you want to try and
Yeah.
play and do, but like
Just wanna
D&D as an
experience
adult
D&D.
Yeah.
doesn't always line up.
yeah.
Yeah.
We
Especially,
miss our
I'd
chance.
also really, you guys are great. I love you all. I'd very much like to play with more women, just because
True.
it's a different energy, kind of in the room, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
different experiences that kind of lend itself to
Different
you know,
perspectives and
different
whatnot.
perspectives.
Yeah.
Yeah, different ways of thinking. So
Yeah.
Too many boys.
True.
yeah,
Too many
All
bros.
this testosterone.
yeah,
Facts.
How dare us?
yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But no, you're good. Hey, that was good.
Hijacked
Good
the segment.
insight.
No, it's okay.
But yeah, no, Ash is cool. So pitched the character to him, like I was kind of describing it to him, and he was like, "Oh, that's pretty cool." And then like we kind of like talked about it, and I solidified Ash, some things. Still have to finish writing his backstory. It's all in here, but I have to put it on paper.
Yeah.
And he's changed a little bit over time because it's been years, but for the most part, he's been consistent, solid, ready, and waiting. As a character, backstory once again stuff to put on paper, but yeah,
Yes.
but
It'll
yeah,
happen.
he's
It'll
dope.
happen. One
Huh?
day.
One day it'll happen.
His time.
He said this year.
will come.
This year, this year.
It has to happen
Supposedly.
this
Yeah.
year.
It has to happen. Yeah.
We have 3 other things we're supposed to do this year. So.
Yeah, well, when the cowboy one's done,
Then
that will be
can-
next on
yeah,
the list.
Aight.
yeah. But yeah, he's just really cool. He is relatively simple in premise because it's been like but he is dear to my heart because he's been in it for so long, and I'm excited to see where the DM takes him.
Me too.
Wonder who that is.
All set?
Yes.
Are you done? Are you done?
Yapper.
I'm
I'll
sorry.
also start with like my unplayed characters. So for the the campaign that's starting this year, I actually had 2 characters that I made. Originally, I started out with a samurai named Yomu. I didn't do the samurai class because it kind of sucks. But I built him around like an Eldritch Knight. He's like a magic using samurai.
Nice.
And I thought the idea of it was pretty cool. And I just realized like I made that when I was still in college.
Yeah.
So I probably have been making characters for this for like
Yeah.
4 years at this point.
That's what I
4 or
mean.
5.
I feel like, I
Yeah.
feel like we were still like I was still in school. Angel and I were still in Willimantic, and like we did like the Fandelver thing,
Yeah.
and then we
Yeah.
were like, hey, maybe we do like your homebrew world or something
Yeah.
like that, and it came up. Yeah. It's
Been
all
a
right though.
long time.
Listen,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
all right. That means it's like plenty of, it's a stew that's been slow cooking for a while.
I
but
just hope I haven't overcooked it.
It's nice and flavorful. You kept the temperature
Flavor.
low.
But yeah, I made that character at first. I really like the idea of like a magic samurai because normally like I feel like the 2 things are separate. You know,
Yeah.
you don't see samurai and magic together.
Yeah. Even like Demon Slayer, where it's like, oh, this
Yeah,
looks like a
but
Where the magic
that's
is
fake.
It's all,
Yeah.
it's all in your head. It's not
Yeah.
real.
yeah. So I did that, and the concept was cool. I think I used him for something else. It was like a one shot. But then I changed it to currently my draconic sorcerer Kale, who I'm definitely excited to play. 'Cause
Kaido
I've
now.
never. Shit, it's Kaido. See, that's how many times things have changed.
Yeah.
He's
It
gone from
was
Kale.
at one point. He was
to-
a bard.
Yeah,
yeah.
So now it's Kaido because I even changed his race from an elf. Like I said it
Hey.
earlier.
Hey,
he was an elf.
He's, swapping it
He's a
up.
tiefling now. You know,
Moving,
first
yeah.
time tiefling.
Moving up.
Good job.
But yeah, the idea of like my first time playing a sorcerer plus the draconic bloodline, a class to me is really interesting.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely excited to like play into that, and I'm hoping that it goes the way I want to and that I enjoy it. I don't want to say too much because like I don't want to spoil things that we haven't started yet. But that's really just for my unplayed characters. Those are the main 2. But for my played characters, my favorite, like, it's kind of tough, and I feel like it's like I'm picking between my 2 kids.
Yeah,
you know. Right now the
oldest, and like the one with the most
Yeah.
put into him. I guess,
yeah, like my oldest being Blink.
Yeah.
It's my sweet boy. My favorite, like, definitely for fights. Like Blink was my first time where I think I really had like a fun character when it came to like combat. Because he was I can't remember the first time. I know he was a ranger, a Rise and Walker ranger, but I don't know if I had Rogue for that one. I want to say it was
you didn't.
fighter.
It was just Ranger, and
It
then
was
for the
just
second
Ranger.
One, that
Yep.
was when Rogue got introduced.
Yeah, so he was just a Horizon Walker. I based him around Noctis because, I think Noctis from Final Fantasy 15 is just really dope, being able to like teleport when he attacks, like throw his weapons and teleport to them. And then for D&D to already have a class that basically kind of does that, I was like,
Yeah.
great. I don't even
Yeah.
got to make it myself. It's
Yeah.
already there for me. For him, being able to like have multiple enemies on the field and just being able to like in one turn attack like 3 at once or like kill 2 in just one go, or even the big bad boys, just take them out real quick. It was fun, and coming up with like
Shout out to session 2, my first adventure.
Yeah.
You guys were smoking everybody.
Yeah, because he was playing a barbarian. He
oh
was
yeah,
playing
session
Osier.
1. I'll shout out Grog,
Osier.
Grom. No,
His was Grom.
fuck, I
Yours
don't
was
like you
Grom.
doing that. Osier. See how bad it is.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
yeah.
Yeah, I had
My
Osier.
dog.
I was like, I'm gonna try playing a barbarian. He was also a
I think he was a Goliath too.
I'll give
yeah,
it
he
to
was a
Goliath,
Goliath,
yeah.
a Goliath barbarian. Like it was tanky, but like combat from it was boring. I was like, I can't do anything. I'm just here to like take
Soaking
hits.
up damage.
No, I
Um,
love it because it was like the idea that you were like, I don't know. Hey, Austin, can I switch it up? I'm like, that's fine. Now he's Goop.
Yeah.
This new guy
Yeah.
showed
So
up.
yeah, before we get to that, so we did the whole thing. We fought like an ancient dragon. My dude got like swallowed up like immediately. And I was like, I'm kind of bored playing this man. So then I asked Austin. I was like, hey, do you mind if I just change my guy completely and pick a new character?
Yeah.
So I started playing Blink. He was an elf, still second my elf phase.
Yeah.
But, nice little tribute. Osier did turn to goop, so I put him in like a little
He's
vial and I
always with
carried
you
him
now.
with me the
Yes,
whole time.
sir.
And
You
like
never forgot him.
my buckle, he was just there with me.
He was with you the entire journey.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I think Blink's the one I had the most fun combat wise. His backstory wasn't, his whole thing was that he woke up in hell, didn't have any memories, and he just kind of stumbled upon these, 3 random dudes that were
Mm.
also there, and they broke him out. He was like, "Oh, I guess I'll just help y'all fight."
Get in, loser.
Yeah.
Pretty much. You guys did that with
Not personal.
I guess.
like all the NPCs and everything. They're like, "Hey, we're just doing a prison riot. Let's go."
Yeah.
Yeah. Like his only thing was that he woke up. He remembered like some scientist dude doing experiments on him, and now he could like teleport.
Yeah.
So we played through that. But I think as like time went on, getting to like evolve his story more, and like in the
Yeah.
third session more so, where it's like, oh, there's he's actually a prince from this like underwater land, and the reason why he lost all that is because his uncle was terrible and killed his dad, tried to kill him. He survived, but his whole kingdom was basically destroyed.
Yeah.
And that was cool, and just him being able to like find himself after like seeing everyone's like backstories and hearing about them. The whole time he's like, I'm gonna help you guys, but like in the background he's like,
I don't even
Man,
know who I am.
yeah, I
Right.
wish I knew
But
more about
that's why I
myself.
love, like
Yeah.
sometimes the characters you come up with, because then it's like it's like sometimes it's kind of like a amnesia is like a cop out, but I don't think in like that situation it was, because like it was built, like we were able to build on that more.
Yeah.
So it was
Yeah,
additive.
it's a blank canvas.
Mhm.
for
Yeah.
the DM
Oh,
to paint
yeah.
on.
I
Yeah,
would say,
and I think
But
it
we were
worked
all
out.
doing it. Like
Yeah.
it was like you, it was me, it was all of us. Like that was
Yeah.
what made like it like a good character, like a fun time. Like,
Yeah, it worked out. I think it worked out perfectly, and plus, like his attachment to like our other DPS character Nikolai, they were cool
Oh,
because
yeah.
he was like, man, this guy's also like a really cool fighter, and I want to
The
learn
most
things from him.
Busted character I've ever seen.
yeah,
Yes.
that
This man
Yeah.
was
fuck.
he
To
used
the
guns.
point where he
that
had to get
was.
nerfed hella hard.
Yeah, to the point where I was effectively just ineffective in the second part of that one shot.
I'm sorry.
Let somebody else shine, okay?
Yeah,
I had
maybe
to
stop
do it
doing
to
the
him. I don't
most.
even- I had
Shine,
to
I
do
just
it.
want to be in the middle. You know what I mean?
I'm sorry.
Build
I
them
did-
less next time.
I over nerfed. I didn't.
Yeah, my
I didn't
initiative
scale.
bonus I think was plus 20.
Yeah,
in
you
the
were
second
always
session.
like
top of the
Perception is like
round.
30.
Yeah.
Was
To
like
be
crazy
fair, they were
high.
level
Yeah,
20 in the
dude,
second round. But
He was rolling
But even
30,
then,
36s
my
for
initiative
stealth.
in the
Yeah.
I think it was like 10 or 15.
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember there were a couple of times where like the fight would start, and then like you would go. Well, no, not even actually. You would go because you're
Yeah,
like
he's
you
first.
roll like 35 for
Yeah.
initiative,
Yeah.
and then take out like 3 out of the 4 people, and then you just be like, all
Well.
right, well.
And then I go, I'm like, I guess I'll finish off the last dude.
Let's move on.
Loki just be
Fight
like,
is over. Let's
I think
move.
I'm just gonna read a book. Or something.
Yeah.
Like my turn would be like moving closer to someone,
Yeah.
and then by the time
Yeah,
my
you
turn
got
came
there.
around, it was already done.
Yeah, it's like okay.
Blink. That's the boy.
Yeah, after the second session, and seeing like how Sean kind of made Nikolai, he was like a fighter rogue. I kind of played it into like Blink wanting to learn from him and like how to use the things that he saw him do to like make it work for him, which is why like in the third run I made him I kept the Horizon Walker because it's kind of like the main part of his build, but I also added Rogue to it. It was
like warp rogue or
Warp
something
Blade.
Like that.
Yeah, it was a
Oh,
Warp
okay.
Blade, so I can make portals and like come out of them and also like go through them and things like that.
That actually is very interesting. I never even really thought about it. But yeah, the idea that like he's like learning from Nikolai, and that's where the rogue comes in. But then
Yeah.
he's still
Yeah.
putting his own stuff into there, and that's where like the warp
Mhm.
blade thing comes from. So that's actually
Yeah,
really
I
cool.
was able to spin it to where it still worked for my build while also making it like he's learning, from those around him. And that's when Blink was really awesome when it came to damage, because I was
True.
just with the sneak with the sneak
Dude.
attack. I
I
think
was
our
sweating.
the first thing we did, we had this big like golem thing that came out. I think I went
Oh.
first and like I think I either one tapped it essentially in one round, or it was like a
Yeah,
I
think you
did
were
most of
literally
it
the
and
only
then right
person that could-
after.
Yeah, because you were like literally the only person that could actually deal like significant
True.
damage to it. Because
Yeah.
everyone else was.
or any damage at all.
That's
I'm
true. Yeah,
Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that the poor owl boy was not able to beat the
Yeah.
giant rock golem.
Guns,
After he
guns
did
did
your
not
dirty
work
too.
on it.
After
After
yeah,
he
we'll
did
talk.
your
We'll
dirty.
talk about that at some other point. Yeah.
I'm gonna be in hot water.
Yeah, he had it out for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I think Blink. It's so tough. I'll have to make a decision after, or I won't. Who cares?
True.
Yeah.
I said 2.
But yeah, they're just really up there, or he's really up there for me, like as like my favorite to play at least. But to like my next one, my sweet boy, Helios. He was my first monk, an elf.
Oh.
Yeah, he was a
What
Way of the Sun Soul monk. Which when I saw that, and it's kind of weird. So I was watching Avatar while also watching Iron Fist. I didn't intentionally make him a mix of the two. Like that wasn't in my mind.
Yeah. It's
But
just like
as
a subconscious kind
Yeah,
of like
as I'm
mixture of
playing
them.
him, I'm like, did I really just make
kind of cool.
Iron
Yeah.
Fist and
But see,
Avatar?
That's what's so
Like
fun about when you're doing the character creation, because sometimes you'll get an idea like that where you see two different things. You're like, what if Like
It wasn't an
It wasn't
idea
even
though.
that, though. That's
Like
the funnier
it's
part.
I literally
It's
just
an
I
accident.
watched I was happened to just watch those shows, and then
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I need a character for this thing, and I was like, cool. Way of the Sun Soul sounds fun. I'll try out my first monk.
Yeah.
Made the build, and I'm playing, and I'm like, oh, my backstory is very Avatar heavy. Like I am the Avatar of like a dragon essentially. And like I'm the chosen one who had to like go through this thing and make my way to the top to like train with the dragon. I was like, is that Iron Fist? Like, is this happening right now?
Yeah.
Um,
I remember I made a joke at one point where I was like, Helio's probably low key like actually 100-something years old and blah blah. It's probably been like 100 years, and then that actually ended up
Yeah,
being
that actually was
Yeah,
true.
The Avatar.
You said that. I was like, huh?
That's what I had in my
funny.
backstory. Yeah.
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 Getting too loud right now.
How the fuck did you know? Who told you? Did he tell you?
Yeah. Did you remember my backstory? Yeah.
We
No.
were like looking at each other like, how do you know?
Yeah.
spilled the
Wait,
beans.
so did you know about the 100 years thing?
Yeah, because I made it
Oh,
so
I thought
that.
that was a surprise for
Yeah,
you
me
as
too.
well.
Well, I mean, I had to
KFD.
act surprised because I obviously like
Yeah.
Oh
my
my
character
God.
didn't know.
Yeah.
So the whole thing was that when he was 16, he went to go train with Solari the dragon. His people were still thriving and everything. He was always trained from a young age. And once he went to go train with her, to him it was 3 years. That's how it felt. When he came out of it, his whole village was essentially gone. Like it wasn't destroyed, but there was no people. Like there were no bodies, no nothing. Like it just was like some weird like alien abduction type of thing. So when he came out, to him it still felt like 3 years, and he didn't. He doesn't. Let me check my. What's today's date? He's not
Yeah.
checking the date or anything. So as time went on, we kept playing, and his story didn't come into play really for the most of the beginning, which wasn't a problem. Because most of it was just him. Like he was traveling to figure out things that happened with his monastery. Then he like happened to stumble on this crew, and like, oh shit, I'm like a chosen one for this adventure, so I'm gonna focus on that. And then mid journey on that, he reads a book that's like, hey, these people used to be alive, and they used to do these things, and the date was there, and he's like, that's 100 years.
Yeah.
What do you?
Wait, huh?
What?
I mean, past tense.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Used
look
to
at you there.
exist?
Yeah. So
They wrote this book fast.
Yeah, even like the little spark of it too, where it was like, oh my god, the merchant from the halfway.
Oh
point.
yeah, the artifacts and
Yeah,
trinkets
you
and
find
stuff.
like our
Mm.
little artifacts from your village and
Yeah.
stuff like that, like things like that, like the breadcrumbs that we're suggesting the idea of it.
yeah, and for him, I had a lot of fun because once again, combat was fun with him playing a monk. Having 19 AC. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
untouchable.
At
When
full
you
level.
whiz and you're set.
Yeah.
Wait, were you guys
Yeah.
like level 3 when we started, or level
Yeah,
5?
yeah.
when we
Yeah, it was like level 3 or
Yeah.
4, and I was already at 19 AC. I was like, nothing's touching me here. Like I'm good. And I was good for like most of it until we got to
Yeah,
the
especially
Trader
throwing
Ryan.
those in a demon
Basil's
city
hand.
when you're like doing radiant damage. This dude was blasting fools like left and right. It
That's
was
true.
amazing.
Yeah. But with him, I enjoyed not really just the combat. I think he's more of where we started getting into the story, and that's where I started getting more attached to him.
Yeah.
Because his whole thing is he had felt abandoned, not like on purpose, but like he went to go train. He was always told like, hey, this is like your path. He was chosen since he was born, and to come back and everyone's gone. In his mind, he's like, everyone left me. And then the story went on, and his own friends left him, for reasons.
Crazy.
But he didn't
They
take
leave
it.
the two with abandonment issues. I don't understand. I know it's cool and all, but fuck.
Yeah, so
It was very
Sorry.
spicy session. Very spicy. Very spicy session.
True.
yeah, him being like a radiant, person, he always had like, I based his abilities around fire. And so with that, I kind of made him have this personality where he kind of has this burning rage, always ready to go.
Yeah, he was not the gentle monk.
No, I definitely, like, if someone was ready to fight, I was like, all right, let's go right now. Like,
Even when they
even
weren't
even
ready
if
to
it's
fight,
not,
yeah.
yeah, even
Hey,
if they
you
weren't
know,
ready to
let's
fight, or
just
even if it
fight.
wasn't directed at me, like if they're talking to someone else, and I'm like, oh, you're trying to fight? I like to fight. Let's fight. Like,
What's up?
well,
Fight me.
don't fight them, fight me.
Yeah.
Even to the point where we were afraid of getting jumped by like 30 dudes on horseback. And
I
while
was
we were
ready.
all chilling at camp, you're like, I'm gonna go look at those caves, see if they're
Yeah,
in there.
true.
Yeah.
By
Well,
myself.
Another
Yeah.
thing that
I'm a
another
gamble,
thing that I
sleeping.
always do with my characters: high stealth, high perception,
Mhm.
high investigation. Yeah, it kind of like ruins things for like my perception being so high, but I just like being able to stealth, especially like on solo things, because obviously when you stealth as a party, there's always the risk of someone messing up, which
Yep.
has happened plenty of times.
Yeah.
Right.
But with that, I was like, Finally,
first
I'm by
character.
myself. I got high stealth. I can figure this out. 90% chance that I'm gonna be totally fine. And if not,
Yeah.
if I die
having,
here, I
like, a
die
high
here.
perception- having a high perception. So like for me, sometimes I don't even necessarily need him to roll necessarily, but he had a very high passive perception.
Yeah.
So for me as a DM, that gives me like a little something where it's like, okay, so let me give him something only he would notice. Like, so in that same situation when like you guys were setting up camp and possibly have this situation in front of you, like you saw the glint of something, and it like planted this seed that there was some danger nearby, but you didn't necessarily know what it was. But you were that perceptive, that aware of it, that you could catch this little detail,
Yeah.
and that maybe it would set something up for later to come.
Yeah, and there was a previous to that, like we had gotten robbed by this dude, and I was ready to go, like I was ready to fight them. But
too.
after looking at the group, because we had just come from like
Oof.
11 days of just
Yeah.
hell, like
Yeah, torture.
Lux almost died like 5 times, you know.
That was,
and,
like, that was like 3 days in game, 7 months real time.
yeah.
Yeah.
So given that was the one time where he was like, man, maybe it's not a good idea to start a fight because then I'm gonna get them killed. It's like, fine, I'll just get robbed. But next time I see this man, it's on site. I swear to God.
Yeah,
And it was on site.
Heaven was with it. Heaven was like, we
Yeah.
can fuck him up right now.
Yeah.
we can do what it does.
But
All
then
resources. Like,
Yeah,
literally
low key.
in hell.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he like used all the spell slots.
Yeah.
and then, like, all like,
and
like
I
key
think
points and stuff.
Belross sort of tried to like pop a like, hey,
Hey,
let's-
rein
let's-
it in.
yeah, let's be smart about this and not
Yeah.
get our asses beat.
Killed.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this
yeah.
little kid just like, what's up? What's up?
I guess that more so that was probably my chaos character in a sense where I was just always ready to
Yeah.
go.
No, because you two together, that was the chaos
Literally,
combo.
literally.
That was
even though
actually-
even though I was
like,
never
they
his
were the
character's
sense of
best
reason
friend,
in
we were a
life.
duo.
Would
Hey, you
tore
were
us
at the end.
apart.
At the end, but right before
He
he
left
left you.
But yeah, and then just obviously we didn't finish the campaign, but like the things that we were going to do, that's also what made me more attached to Helios, because it was like he was either going to go 2 ways. He was going to become one with himself and become like more like a lot calmer, still ready to like fight in terms of like helping people, but not fight because he just needs to fight. Like it's not a form of rage. He's able to center himself.
Fight when he has to. Now.
Yeah, exactly. Or the rage was going to take over, and he was probably going to murk an
Become a menace.
entire civilization somewhere.
Yeah.
But we didn't get to that, so
Yeah,
know
we didn't get
we'll
to
never
that-
know where he goes.
that
He's
point.
floating in time and
Limbo.
space forever. But yeah, it's my main 2.
Oh,
And a shout out to Corvin, my first wizard.
True.
You know, he was fun to play. He got played
Yeah.
a lot, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Poor boy.
But he was fun while I got to play him.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. So real quick, I'm just gonna give a couple of honorable mentions
Yeah.
before I get to my boy. I have a blood hunter, a half-orc blood hunter. His name is Gren.
The boy.
He's very special to me. His main character trait that I gave him is that he likes tea. And I was just, I don't know, he was very much like a soft and cozy character for me. I don't know why. But he was also like the leader of like a guild that we had established.
Yep.
Even though he has issues with taking a leadership role. That was Corbin, actually. Corbin was
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just thought of like another character, but don't worry about it.
another one, the Slayers one, Nikolai.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Is very special
I love
to
that
me.
bird. I love that bird so
True.
much.
It don't seem like it.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like
Sorry,
it.
even though I
I'm
was
kidding, I'm
listening. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, when Nikolai, I was like, okay, I kind of want to play a
bird.
fighter because it's like, oh, we're Slayers, so it's based off of like Doom was kind of the prompt that he gave us. So I was
Yes.
like, okay, I want to play a guy who just his combat is his whole thing. So then fighter and rogue, a lot of damage, and I was like, oh, I'll make him an Aarakocra so that he could fly, get to different positions because he's a firearm expert. And then I was
Sniper.
like, yeah, and I was
Yeah.
like, regular Aarakocra, they're cool. And I was like, what can I do
They
to kind
aight.
of spice it up? And I was like, this is before I knew that Owlin existed, so I made him
True.
like it's like some sort of
Owl
Russian
cockroach.
brown owl,
Yeah.
Yes.
kind of the horned owl or something like that.
Yeah. He was a great one.
He did
And
have horns.
yes, more or less. And yeah, he had an eye patch. He's cool.
Yeah.
This is
He
my
had,
guy.
he had like 3 different guns with different names.
Yeah, he had
Yeah.
three different. He had
Yes.
judge, jury, and
Nice.
executioner.
Yeah.
Executioner was the sniper.
Oh, that was the second.
That was for the first one.
No,
The second one
was
was
Anastasia.
I was gonna say
Bezimar.
Anastasia.
Oh, Anastasia.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
Anastasia was
So
like
that's
a
the one you got
childhood.
later.
Yeah, it was just like childhood gun that broke, and then he like hung it up for a while,
Yeah.
and
That was when
but then
things got
eventually,
serious.
eventually he got it back.
Yeah.
It was named after his mother.
Yeah.
Speaking of his mother, this guy at the end of the first part killed his mother. So that
Yup.
was that was
Yeah.
cool. That was
But brought back his dad, but not
yeah,
like
yeah. We
in a
went
way
to
that
we died fighting the dragon, went to hell, came back. I found my dad's soul in hell because my dad has been dead for a long time. I didn't really know that dude that much.
Yeah, I was like, you didn't have like a great
Like a huge
relationship with him necessarily.
With him, yeah. Like, it was definitely a little kid father relationship,
Yeah.
but like it wasn't like a
Now that you're a grown man, it's like okay,
It's
like,
like, okay, I don't really know this
ride
dude.
that wave anymore.
yeah. So brought my dad back just to find my mother bisected by the dragon that
Ugh.
killed us. So that was fun, but it's okay because in the part 2, I bisected the dragon guy
Yes,
right
sir.
He got his vengeance. It
back. I
was
got his
great.
vengeance. I took
And
his
you-
eye. I kept him tortured for as long as I was alive, and
Yep.
then when I went to hell, I found him again.
Yup.
There you
Right,
go.
and then like it was that, and then you also fought with your dad the whole time too.
And
so
I
it was
fought
like
with my dad.
you
True,
bonded
true.
with your father
Yeah.
over that.
Yeah.
That was a real
Murdering-
father-son session.
Right.
Yeah, that whole thing. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
very father son.
Yeah.
Like,
It was.
important
That was
based.
father son was the title of the episode.
Well,
Yeah.
or uncle,
That's true.
uncle
Yeah.
nephew.
Family
older
family
male
ties.
figure.
I thought you said something else.
my final honorable mention is
Yeah.
technically the first character I've ever created. His name is Mittens the Cutthroat.
Yes.
Yeah!
Oh,
He's a
that's
little-
what, whenever I was talking about Ash, you were talking about Mittens, and that was like our.
Yeah.
Or
That was
suppo-
kind of
yeah.
our thing.
If we
were, like,
ever
making
played in the
character
same
together.
session.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
and Mittens, he's like a little cat guy. He's a
Yeah.
rogue.
Mhm.
Now he's actually part artificer too.
Yeah.
Dope.
We haven't even played him a lot, but he's still my favorite.
Yeah, I've only
character.
ever played
Hell
it.
yeah.
I've only ever played him once.
He's
but,
chaotic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's my chaos
Yeah.
character. He's
Yeah.
like a
True.
guy who's like always on edge.
Yeah.
So it's like if you have even the slightest bit of attitude towards him, he just pulls knives on you.
Yeah.
He likes to go in backpacks.
Yeah, he hides in
too.
Yeah.
backpacks. That's my guy. I can't wait to actually like play him.
Yeah.
And he has like
One
a
day.
huge
Yeah.
kind of, like in-depth backstory as per usual. Like
Yeah.
it didn't start that way. At first he was just a funny cat guy, but then I
Right,
was like,
right.
all right, well let me give him some gravitas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did want to add since
Yes,
before you
spice.
pass completely on Nikolai, but another thing I thought was cool about playing that was like Nikolai, in a sense, at the end, like passed the mantle on to Blink,
Yep.
like his position in the Slayers, because Blink wasn't a Slayer, but he became one.
Yeah.
And I think after everything, like
Because the Slayers organization was like corrupted.
Yeah.
So we like. me
I was
and
like
Blink-
the shadow Hokage,
Yeah,
that was
basically,
passed
we
on.
were the ones who were going to root out that corruption
Yeah.
by
Yeah.
any means necessary. But Nikolai being an Aarakocra, they only lived to like 30 or something like that.
Yeah.
So
So I wasn't gonna live long.
he was
enough.
getting toward the end of his lifespan. So then he passed that like whole thing on to Blink before he kind of like retired and became an Ezio hermit.
Yeah. He was living with his dad when his dad came back.
Yeah.
That's
That's wild.
Yeah,
true.
that was weird.
Yeah.
That was a
Yeah.
weird thing because like in my head I'm thinking like like your dad's like 50-something years old.
No.
Oh, his
Like,
dad also
dad
wasn't a
was
bird.
Is like maybe just touching his 40s when Nikolai died.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So.
Because they were your parents weren't your birth parents, right?
No,
yeah,
yeah,
they
'cause
found
they
out.
were humans, and
Okay.
then Nikolai was obviously an
Yeah.
Aarakocra.
A bird.
Yeah.
They found
A
it.
bird.
They just saw
bird.
an egg. Yeah, they saw an egg. They picked it up, brought it home. They
An
tried to.
Like, oh, we're gonna cook this tomorrow, and then
Yeah.
a bird
Yeah,
came out.
Like, what the heck? There's an
The
owl in
house,
my
the
egg.
house was a little too hot. That
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
They
It's
incubated
getting
him.
it's getting warm in here.
So yeah, so that's all really cool. Mitten's my guy. He's
Yeah.
my boy.
Yeah.
Can't wait to play him like in the campaign. But
Eventually.
my
I
favorite
promise.
Say his name.
character.
Say his name.
We've talked about him.
Say his
Yeah.
name.
Lucius Stellarum,
There
That-
it is.
or his real name Caprice Stellarum.
Oh.
But we don't talk about that.
Oh, I was gonna
Because-
say I was
yeah.
like Shadow and Dark, even though like everybody else is like the astrology stuff.
Astrology
but
stuff. Yep. Yeah.
that makes
The-
sense.
And
Oh!
Tenebris's real name is Sagan.
my fault.
Sagan.
That's heat.
Sagan,
That's heat.
yeah. And I based that around because since Tenebris was the first one that I created, I made him Sagittarius because I'm a Sagittarius.
Yeah.
And then Lucius came right after him, so he was Capricorn.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah. The whole family, their magic kind of like in a sense comes from stars and celestial events. Like all of them are born during an eclipse to like increase that magical essence, so on. We're not talking about the family right now. But
Like,
just
we
for the
need a
record,
separate
Yeah,
podcast
yeah.
episode.
That's,
for that.
Yeah.
that
I
is
can
an
fill
episode.
an entire
literally-
episode just talking
Yeah.
about Lucius.
If you want to hear about Lucius' backstory and even more about that, hit the like button and comment.
Yeah. let them know.
We do have
then
our,
we have our
secret.
Netherdeep episode
Yeah.
where we
Oh,
talk
yeah,
about
yeah,
all
yeah.
this stuff.
Yeah.
So
That's true.
if we start getting a fan base, then
Hey, we'll release it.
Maybe we'll release it eventually.
Yeah.
Technically the pilot, the first ever episode.
That
Yeah.
is. That is the lost episode.
Yeah. So Lucius, he's a wizard, and he's a blood wizard, blood
magic?
blood magic wizard.
Yeah.
Because I was like, ooh, the new Critical Role Tal'Dorei Reborn book
Yep.
came out, and it has a blood wizard. That's kind of
Critical
cool.
Role likes to make blood classes, huh? Because
Hey,
the Blood Hunter
yeah.
also
It's
came
tied
from
to
that,
Blood
right?
hunter,
Yeah.
blood
They also
wizard.
have like
cleric?
They might have like a feat that has to do with like blood too.
Yeah.
I think so.
So
Yeah. So it's cool.
True.
You know, and no one else is doing it for some
True.
reason.
Haven was also from that book.
True. Yeah,
Rune
he's a Rune
Child.
Child.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Fire. Sorry.
But I wanted to make it, since his name was Lux, he was like light based as far as his like the magic that he studies and creates. But then the blood magic, since it's a little bit more taboo and
Yeah,
dark,
taboo.
that's kind of like the secret magic he does for himself. And yeah, and when I rolled for his stats,
Ass.
they were all
Sheesh.
garbage. They were
Mm.
all of his stats were garbage except I think he had one
Like his intelligence.
like 16 or something
Yeah.
like that. I can't exactly remember, but yeah, all of his stats were bad.
Yeah, his
So
strength
that-
is negative.
That kind of informed part of his character because his stats were so bad. He was also like very sickly, very meek, very small,
Underdeveloped.
underdeveloped. Yeah, his birth
Vulnerable.
ended up being premature.
Yeah.
So yeah, they always make fun of me because this is the character that I probably love the most. He's like the one that I'm closest to.
Yeah.
But I cannot let him be happy.
No.
You were such
in
an
the
you were
slightest.
such an
Bastard.
abusive creator.
It's very true.
Bastard.
Or even in that episode that we talked about the pilot one,
Yeah.
you went on to be like, oh, this is like what I had planned
This is
for
what I
him, like
envisioned for his
in the
Nothing
future,
but
and it
just-
was still not good. Like,
Yeah,
There
it
was no
like- it
happy
was like-
ending.
Yeah.
It was so I don't know if I've told you. Have I?
Assume I didn't.
Okay. So, sorry. In the campaign, there's this character Io who he had a romantic feelings for. In the idea that I had for how the story would end was that Io and him would end up together. They would have some kids, but Lucius, unfortunately, finds himself consumed by his purpose in everything imaginable. So in achieving his dreams, he ends up working too much. He ends up doing too much to still like prove himself, and in doing so, he ends up losing Io. And
I did not hear about this.
Yeah.
Haven.
so it's basically going to be like they do get together,
I'm
and it's like, oh my
shocked.
gosh, a happy ending. But then
Not so happy.
as it keeps going, they eventually get divorced, and he loses her, and then he's still just in this kind of like thing. And I don't know why that's the ending that I envisioned for him.
envision.
Who hurt you?
I
Oh,
just I
God.
don't know. I for some
God.
reason I felt like Lucius was just a character where it's just like one of those types of characters where
Tragic.
they
like,
don't they're
No,
where,
right.
where
Yeah.
like they're just the universe doesn't allow them to have
Yeah.
true happiness.
And I joke, but seriously, like he has been one of the most compelling characters I've ever had to experience, like witnessing
Thank you.
and just hearing the different stories about like what you had envisioned for him and stuff.
Yeah.
It is just
And that's if he didn't die.
Right.
I expected
True.
him to die.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the actual.
and he almost
probably
did.
would have at one point.
and he
He almost
almost
did.
did multiple
Yeah.
times.
Yes,
Yeah.
because that dude did not have constitution.
Wizards already have low health, low
Yeah,
constitution.
yeah.
But he was a super low constitution wizard.
It was like,
So
it was like 0 or negative, right?
0, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
If you
Zero.
sneezed
Wow.
on him,
I
the
almost
wrong
made
way.
it negative, but I
Yeah,
was like,
just
I
to,
gotta,
like,
I need
got it,
something.
yeah.
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 You probably would have died if that was the case.
Yeah.
But he was always just a very like well thought of character, and it was so fun to get to see the different things that you were doing with him and stuff,
Thank
and the
you.
things you had planned with him and stuff. That's why I joke that like it's a whole shonen manga like
Yeah.
behind him.
Yeah, I had set up like a whole thing where his family has like a succession ceremony.
Yeah, which
So
was
like whenever
basically
the
a tournament
matriarch of the clan dies, or can't hold her
Cannot-
position
yeah.
anymore, all 13 of the kids were going to basically have like a battle royale, of a Hunger Games effectively, where they might
sir.
not necessarily have to die, but
Yeah.
you know, only one comes out on top, and then they become the new patriarch or matriarch of the clan.
Yeah.
The other ones have to abandon their names, and they
Yeah.
just essentially
Oof.
create branch families in the main clan. So it's like, yeah, and the cycle begins anew of them making new ones and then naming them after the astrology, so on and so forth, astrological stars,
Yeah.
so on. He came from like an abusive home.
Yep.
That because he was, for those, if you know, you know. If you're a Critical Role fan, he was Ruidus born, which means
Yeah.
he was essentially born under a red moon. So when he was born during the eclipse, this red moon flashed, and that's generally said to be cursed. Like that's like the belief in the world.
Yeah.
at
I think
least.
the book says that they are childs of destiny. but
Yeah,
it's
so like
usually seen as a
what it
bad
actually
omen.
what it actually is that it's like something is going to happen to them of
they're
prominence.
great influence.
Yeah. Yes.
Whether it's good or bad, it's
Yeah,
not.
but I
for-
think the
Yeah.
general
Yeah.
perception of the people in the world
It's
is that
just-
it's a curse.
that,
Yeah, I mean,
It is
spooky
an
red
ill
moon.
omen, a bad
Yeah,
omen,
exactly.
Yeah, spooky red moon gonna do
what spooky
invoke
red
that.
moons do.
Yeah.
And he was born under that. He was also born premature.
Yep.
His brother was also in similar circumstances, but that's the reason why he is a tiefling, is because like none of his other siblings are. And I intended for his dad to also not be a tiefling. And his
If it
mom
came
on
up.
season. If it came up, yeah.
Not Tenebrous?
Huh?
I thought Tenebrous was a tiefling as well.
Yeah, they're both tieflings.
Oh,
They're
okay.
both
Right, but-
they're both Rudis
I
boys.
got
yeah,
you.
it was the idea that like you said.
Yeah, and then the whole thing was that like the mother, the matriarch of the clan, and kind of like the clan heads were like, this guy is cursed, so we're excommunicating him from the family entirely, like the Lucius and Tenebrous' father. But yeah, his siblings, not all of them, but most of them weren't very kind.
Assholes.
They were rude. There were two in specific that were very abusive. His mother was also not great. She was very absent, and when she wasn't absent, she held him to expectations that he at the time couldn't achieve, but he convinced himself that it was a good thing, that she believes in him, and that's why she pushes him as hard as she does, not knowing that he's actually like a huge victim in all of this, all this circumstance. So much so that like his brother Tenebrous, the only brother he was actually close to, like even in a sense abandoned him, and kind of just wasn't. Yeah,
That's like when the older brother gets out and then you're left behind, and you're
he
like,
wasn't even out. He was
True.
still there. It was just that he was avoiding him because
Right.
of some circumstances that maybe we'll go into in a different episode.
They're all lucky they didn't meet Helios.
dude,
I was so
If we
ready
made it
for
that far, it would have been.
I was
ooh.
so ready for like whenever like the main campaign was over, and then we all like go back to meet like Lucius's family. If we
Yeah.
ever did that,
Yeah.
it would have been
That's-
very interesting.
uh,
Especially because they're all prominent. Like all of his siblings are very successful in what they do.
Yeah.
Like some of them are members, like high-ranking members of the military. Some are high-ranking like entertainment figures and so on and so forth. So
Politicians and
politicians and
whatnot.
things of that nature. Yeah. And yeah, he's after creating him and then playing him and then watching him kind of fall for this person when he didn't even think he had the capability to fall for somebody. It was just a very beautiful thing to witness. I just wish that I could be nicer to him.
Treat him better.
Yeah.
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 okay.
Yeah.
There was very, as much as we joke about it, there was also very tender, sweet moments from Lucius as a character that are also just indicative of like he just has this pure kindness to him.
It's also thanks to him being surrounded by some nice people for once in his life.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, that's what was so great about with your party too, was like you guys barely knew each other, but you all acted like brothers, like immediately.
Well,
Yeah, well,
dude, we basically were brothers.
Right,
and
that
Haven.
was,
Yeah.
sorry.
well, yeah.
Damn, that's weird to
Spoilers.
think about. Bro, Haven's a half elf, technically, then.
Yeah, he is. Yep.
Crazy. Anyway, all right.
Yeah. The short of it was that the eldest brother of the family, his name was Virgil. He was he like essentially went missing at some point, and the truth of it was that some stuff happened, and Haven, the character who hadn't really known who he was,
Yeah.
like
He also
it was
lost his
more
memories.
it was more than amnesia that he had. Like
Yeah,
he
well,
just
yeah,
straight up
he-
didn't
he-
exist in a sense.
Yeah.
Was Virgil the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And nobody knew that because Lucius was too young to know what Virgil looked like.
Mm-hmm.
Virgil can also kind of change his appearance, like he could change like the age that he looks based off his like emotions and stuff. Like they all. I'm not.
There's
getting
a lot
into
of
that.
stuff. Yeah.
There's a lot.
Yeah.
Of, there's a. I'm telling you,
A lot.
there's so many layers to this that I could do an entire episode just
Yeah.
explaining
My man's on
everything.
some George R.R. lore writing stuff. Right now,
Yeah,
so.
it's crazy. But yeah,
Again,
so
you wrote a campaign for your backstory.
Literally, yeah.
Yeah.
you know.
You don't even need Netherdeep. It's just
wrote-
to explore
I wrote
Lux's
a book,
world.
and now the character starts, and then they end wherever they do.
Yeah.
And but we won't know that now. But regardless,
Gotta save something for next time.
yeah. So our characters were really close. I was supposed to like look after you because Tenebrous knew the truth,
Yeah.
and that's why he sent you to me.
Yeah.
And I was just looking after you, and then we formed a bond. You were my college roommate, even though you weren't supposed to be.
Yeah.
You ate all my chocolate almonds. And you had
Yeah.
parties without inviting
Yes,
me.
sir.
But it's fine.
Well, no, like the thing is, he's like, oh no, like if Lucius, this is our room, he can just show up whenever.
Yeah, the parties would come
Yeah.
to Haven,
Yeah.
and then Lucius would get home and be like, "Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, and if the other people would be like,
Like,
I don't
who
think
the
you're
hell's
supposed to be
that
here,
guy?
dog.
Yeah.
He's like, no, I live
This
here.
is- yeah.
But that's double.
I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
really know what else to say. I don't know how to kind of cap this yapping section off.
He was a tender
do what I
sweet
did,
boy, probably
Yeah.
the most invested character you've ever had.
I mean, I feel like you've kind of done it multiple times,
Yeah.
and then you kind of had another afterthought.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I just
like you said, he's your favorite.
he's my favorite. He's
You
very
just
special
don't know how to
me.
how to treat him
goated.
good.
I just wish I could be nicer to him. That's kind of my biggest thing. And I wish that I could allow him to have a happy ending. But it's either him dying or him being divorced. So it's like I don't.
Yeah, like
Yeah. D
Damn.
and D.
D&D.
dying and divorced.
Dying and divorced. Yep.
Yeah.
Dead and divorced, I guess. I mean, but
It's all planned.
yeah.
Yeah.
Despicable.
Yep. All right, Mr.
All right.
Man.
Here we go.
What are my characters again?
There's
What's
Linux.
D&D?
There's Grom.
You tell us.
There's Boulevard.
Boulevard.
I know my
there's-
character.
Well, you asked me the question.
Yeah.
It was a rhetorical question.
Take
Oh,
it
man.
serious.
All right, just,
Oh,
just,
yeah.
just stare at him then, I guess.
Crazy.
I guess I'll start with my overall like favorite character, just in concept and existing, is Boulevard.
Hell yeah.
Also because I've been able to base some of my like one shots off of him,
True.
and I've been able to invest the most in sort of like world design, I guess, not character design, because I don't have a huge backstory for him necessarily, but more I've been able to. So Boulevard is essentially a dragon-born Newt Scamander.
Sorry. True. That's my dog, bro.
Yeah.
And using the same thing as attack.
Gavin the Griffin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tasha's boy.
Yeah. That's what I was, yeah. That's, yeah. Go to crew. Anyway, sorry.
That's why I was like, he's been included in this. I'm like, wait a second. I literally have a period with him. I had a class with him. I'm pretty sure.
Oh, they're synced up. Sorry. my fault.
And I like his design as a whole because he's Dragonborn are naturally kind of just like a bulky and like normally stereotypically like larger like fighter type.
Yep.
But he's sort of like this like skinnier, he almost looks like a lizard rather than a dragon. He doesn't have any wings or anything like that.
A twink of
Yeah.
dragon.
Yeah.
He wears like a hood. At least when he was younger, he wears like a hoodie and like the green logo for like his house. He's a druid, so it's very much more of like he's also more like a support kind of class. A lot of his stuff is more like healing and like assisting animals, that kind of thing. I wrote a bunch of like not backstories, but like essentially like animal archetypes and like the different like animals that he takes care of. I have 3 different lists from all the different times I've played him or had a campaign for him where I had like snow themed animals. I had his sort of like main like ones that he took care of when he was in school. And I think I had one from like his personal like collection essentially, that kind of thing. Yeah. And he was just I got to be very creative without having to worry about sort of like specific like personality traits of him, because I always have difficulties like fleshing out how he might react in a very specific situation. But I don't have to worry about that because he has sort of like natural sort of like tools to interact with all the animals and different like creatures and stuff, and those can sort of like fill in the gaps of when he doesn't know what to do, or pretty much when I don't know what to do, I can sort of fill in those gaps with, okay, here's a new character that sort of gives me that little bit of variety and that little bit of like flavor to Boulevard without sort of having to sort of like pull something like new out of nowhere.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
He's definitely my favorite character.
Nice.
I will say that
Any honorable mentions that you don't like? People
Tom
you don't
Bomb.
want to like go too crazy.
Not like
Tom Bomb's my boy.
right. Like I
he
was
is technically not a character.
Depends on the
He was my
campaign
first
or
character
one
I
shot.
made.
Yeah,
he's a non-playable character.
Yeah.
Depends on the character I'm playing. That's my boy.
Yeah.
A Tash?
What's up, Max?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Name's not Max.
I will leave that for if we were talking about campaign
true.
specific
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
But Tom Bomb is
NPCs, yeah.
one of my favorite design concepts, I guess.
Yeah.
Grom was dope.
Yeah.
Like all of the sins were dope. Sorry, that's all right. You get too far.
Come on, bro. I will say that. The character that I've done the most in depth backstory for is probably Blake Double Dealer Skinner.
Yes, sir.
He is
Oh,
probably
man.
the character that I've invested the most concept in, just for the cowboy one shot. And that I've thought the most about how he exists in the world, his family members, his sort of his past, his future, how he interacts with people, what his goals are, that kind of thing. And the most I have like invested not only in his past but the possibilities for his future. I have the most sort of potential for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
definitely. So he hasn't played a lot because we've only played
That's
one
true.
session.
Yeah.
But
Still my boy. though.
yeah.
Yeah.
If we go into the next question too as well, I will say. Oh my God. Honorable.
I have to edit
mean
that
I
now,
should do
bro.
it?
Damn.
I apologize.
No,
for
you're
that.
good.
Honorable mention for me would be Agatha because Agatha. Yeah, Agatha is a character also
Right,
for
Suicide
the
Boys.
cowboy one where she's a bard and she's the first bard I think I've ever played, and I think that there's like enough in what I did with creating her that I feel like I'm gonna have so much fun playing.
Yeah.
Her. But yeah, honorable mention
Yeah.
Agatha. Agatha,
And-
Heartstring Moon Song.
Yeah, and I will give honorable mention to Belroth as the one who I had the most emotional sort of
Papa
attachment
Belroth.
to.
Papa.
Yeah.
He's the dad of the
I-
crew.
Yeah, he was.
I think I never really 100% fleshed out his backstory to the fullest that I wanted to.
Yeah.
And as we moved on, I wanted to do that more. But he's the one that I played the most, as that's the first like major campaign that we've done. And he also was very much a lot of me. I put a lot of me into him and a lot of like the emotions that I feel naturally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I definitely currently I have the most attachment to him just because I sort of experienced myself in him a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, I think, and I can't necessarily speak for either of you, but you just said it, and I definitely put a lot of like me into Lucius
Oh
as
yeah.
well.
I put
Yeah.
a lot of
But there's like
so-
there was like a slice of you. Like I
Yeah.
know that
Yeah.
version of Alex that is Haven.
Oh yeah, for
yeah.
sure.
It's not Alex
Yeah.
all the
Yeah,
time,
it's not,
but
yeah.
that is
Right.
you.
But like that one, like at my peak of like when I'm on my like sugar highs and stuff like that, that kind of like energy. Yeah.
when he's
for
getting
sure,
silly.
for sure.
And then for Helios, yeah,
I don't
really
know
tired.
if I would say I put myself in Helios a lot. Like definitely not the rage aspect of it. Maybe some of the backstory elements and some of his like feelings towards things, but I don't know if I've made a character that's like
That's
me
like you.
coded. You
Okay.
know,
yeah.
maybe one day.
Hey, maybe.
I play D&D to escape. No.
Did I?
me in real life.
Nothing comes off dome for me. But what would you say?
All your himbos.
Every
True.
every
Actually,
character, every
yeah.
character,
I
So
every
agree.
single
you
character
literally
you
play
ever
yourself.
I like himbos. I like big boys. I like himbos. I like them to be powerful and strong and pretty
Yeah.
and stupid.
Yes.
I think tungsten.
Tungsten is very you.
Dude.
I think tungsten is a little bit more
Very you-coded.
like, well, at least it's supposed to be a little bit more prideful than you
Yeah.
are. But
Yeah.
I still think tungsten is very like
Yeah.
very Austin coded.
Yeah, that's true. And like tungsten for him as well, it's like that's the version of me that is like put into a leadership position, and I have to like I was like, okay, I gotta do that kind of stuff. Yeah, definitely more prideful than I am. But definitely that is one of the himboist characters I've made.
Yeah.
I love that man so much.
Gotta get my boy in there too, man. This boy. Gotta get this
Oh,
boy
me?
in there. And Dragonlance. Gotta get
Oh
him.
yes,
yeah.
yes. I'm considering having a conversation
Yeah, yeah.
like today. So
Oh hell yeah.
All right, cool.
Wow.
You heard it
Well,
here,
'cause-
folks.
You heard it here
because-
first.
all right,
we
I don't
are
know.
doing our
all right.
next session in like.
Well, I was.
Well, he doesn't
it's-
necessarily need to be there for the next
Well, yeah,
session.
yeah,
Yeah,
but just
it's
like
whenever
the sooner we
he's-
kind
sooner
of
we
get it
have the conversation.
solidified,
I have
yeah.
I have the bones of the character made, just not the
Yeah.
backstory.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess I guess if you don't want this, then you could cut it out necessarily. But
Oh, true. Yeah.
but with how good last night's session went, I was like, okay,
Very like
yeah, I was like, okay,
Same.
maybe it could be a little bit more.
Yay.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Maybe a little bit
Oh, you know,
more.
we talked about that a lot. I don't know if you heard or saw us. Like, well, your room
Yeah,
on,
we were-
on this side
Hey,
of the house.
you know,
I took
hold
a
on, hold on.
shower
We
after you guys
can
left,
we can
so-
have this conversation in a couple minutes.
Yeah,
Oh,
you
yeah,
know?
okay.
after,
Yeah,
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 whenever,
yeah.
whenever we go get food.
I just want to make sure.
We talked about it a lot. just last
Okay.
night.
Yeah.
All right.
Just to-
Cool.
just-
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
but,
yeah. We can talk after.
yeah.
So we're probably gonna skip the third part. You know, we are
That's
kind
fine.
of got a lot of time
yeah,
going.
I
So
was gonna say, how's time
yeah,
looking?
next-
we could
yeah, next time we
Bench it.
discuss D&D, we'll go over like our
Yeah, we
memories.
can-
You know, our favorite memories of our characters. Maybe even more in depth on if we have
Some
new
of the
characters at the time and stuff.
specifics,
But before I do anything else, anyone have any last minute things they want to talk about for any of the stuff we've mentioned? It's okay if you don't. You don't have to have one. Just want to make sure before I.
I just want to say that D&D has truly changed my life.
Same.
Yeah.
It's such a creative exercise. I love storytelling. I feel like storytelling is one of the
Same.
one of the pillars of like humanity.
I'd say world building for you as well.
Well, no, that's for me personally. But
Yeah.
I just mean
Oh,
like
okay.
in terms of like human history and like what brings life into what it means to be human. I feel like storytelling is one of those things that's just it's truly like a defining pillar of the human experience.
Yeah.
it's something that's existed since the cavemen
Yeah,
painting
I
on walls. You
in
know what I
True,
mean?
literally.
In history, that's how they like passed on lessons and
Exactly.
knowledge and experiences, so that people could grow and you didn't lose all the progress that you made.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And
That's essentially
ultimately-
what history is.
Yeah. Literally, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it's a game, and if it's not Dungeons and Dragons, if it's
It is
another
his
tabletop game
story.
that you're playing, that is
Her story. Thank you very
All right,
much.
Oh
whatever.
my God, dude.
if it's a role playing game in
His
general,
or
as a
her.
tabletop, it's like the storytelling and it's also a game. So you
Yeah.
have the best of both things, where it's like mechanically speaking, it's a lot of fun to play. There's a lot of fun moments, but then it's also very fulfilling because you're all crafting this story together and you're all building this thing. And it's like, and then for us who are creative people, it's like it's that access to be able to really access that part of yourself that doesn't get to come out that often, because so often do we have to just like hide it when we're going out through the world, because we're not always able to be creative. We're not always able to. We have in our heads whatever story that we've been concocting for months and months and months and months, but we may not catch up, with our skills. And internally we might say these things. I think that even if you're not a drawer, like if you can't draw, I don't know if you can write, like you don't have to know any of that. If you can build a character, have fun times, and tell a good story with some friends, you are a creative person at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Because you created that with the group. So you don't even need that much skill to be able to turn this into something great.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's fueled by your imagination, and it's extra cool because it's not just the DM telling the story. It's you're telling the story, you're telling the story, I'm telling the story, you're telling the story, on top of what the DM is telling the story. Like it's a collaborative process that everyone gets to just contribute to, and it builds so many skills that you really don't even think about. Like the aside from just the creativity thing, it teaches you team building.
Yep.
It teaches you kind of like how
Communication.
to
Time
being in a
management.
leadership
Yeah.
role,
Yeah.
time
Improv,
management,
like
improv,
thinking on your feet.
Yeah.
math.
Math.
Weirdly enough,
Yeah.
math is very important in Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
Being able to kind of just like think ahead of what another person might be doing.
Yeah.
Dude, I can't tell you,
It's-
like thinking 2 steps, 3 steps ahead, like thinking through your decisions
Not
as
for me.
well. Yeah.
Not everyone learns all the lessons.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying they're there. The
I
lessons are there.
handpicked the lessons.
and truly, if you have never tried Dungeons and Dragons, but you like to just kind of like let your imagination go, or you just want something to do with your friends, I implore you, please just try it at least once, see how you feel.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There are
I
books
wanna-
that you can get.
Oh, sorry. I'll let you finish.
Sorry, just real quick. There are books you can get to help you start. Arguably, it's probably one of the cheaper hobbies that you can do because
Even
you can-
though with
you can-
all this pretty stuff, it is still manageable
yeah,
at a very budget price.
you don't need all this stuff.
True.
You don't even
really
need this
don't.
game.
Yeah.
You could still do
and,
it and do a
and,
different
and,
game.
and
In the
I
mind.
hope I don't get shot for saying this. All these you could download for free. Everything that every
literally,
D&D
yeah.
resource that
Wait,
exists.
yo, D&D. I mean, we'll cut this out if you want to sponsor us real quick.
Also true. Yeah.
Just don't come from my house. all right?
Don't
It's where my
pirate
dog lives.
things, but you can because it's but don't.
I
do
can't
that.
stop you, but
I can't.
I
Stop
don't
you from
endorse
doing
it.
I wouldn't do it myself, but it's available. But yes, it is. It's
Yeah.
an insanely cheap hobby to get into.
Yeah.
All you need to worry
It
about
can
is
be expensive.
All
it
you need to worry
can be
about is,
expensive. All
like,
you need to worry
meeting
about
up-
is time management with your friends.
yeah,
and
a
that's really
place
about it.
and food to
And
last
food.
the session.
Yeah,
basically.
And
Sorry.
you could even do it online.
That
Also
too.
true.
Also,
you
yeah.
can do it through
Discord.
or there are a bunch of free websites that let you have resources and stuff.
I'm so sorry.
No, you're good.
ahead.
I'm gonna piggyback off that and also probably end it
Yeah.
after the statement.
Yeah.
Take it away.
But to go off of that, for me personally, growing up, I was like, D&D's for nerds, and
Yeah.
I might get shot for that. Sorry, and I'll take the
sure a
shot.
lot of
I'll
people-
take the
that's how I
shot.
was
I'll
A lot of
take the
people
shot
agree,
gracefully. Yeah,
I'll
to
stand
me,
on
I
that.
was like,
I was-
it's nerdy, like it's weird. I'm just gonna go play Call of Duty or whatever.
Dang.
But I think and this is another thing I'm gonna get shot for. Stranger Things kind of made it seem a little bit better because the way they like showed it, I was like, oh, so that's what it's about. Because I never really looked into it. It was just the idea of like
You just hear,
dudes
D&D is
chilling
for-
in a
is for
basement,
losers. Yeah.
talking about things,
You're like,
whatever.
has to be.
Yeah, so I just want to say that don't go in with that mindset. It's best like if, like Sean said, try it once. Don't go in with a mindset that like it is super nerdy or that it's gonna be like or like gross or whatever. Like give it a shot, see how you feel. Do it with like your close friends. You never know. You might all actually have a good time doing it.
Yeah.
Really give it a shot because it might be something that you like to do over time. I wasn't sure how I was gonna feel about it. I did it once. It is confusing at first. It's definitely a learning curve.
Yeah.
But as long as you put the time in and try to like actually learn it and play, you'll get used to it, and it'll be a lot more fun, especially with like your friends.
Yeah.
And just real quick before you, this is super fast. I think this has been the activity that I have laughed the most in. Like,
Oh, for
especially
sure.
being with these goofballs, like the amount of laughs that we have on a day-to-day session, like kind of thing. It's
Yeah.
But like pure
Incomparable.
laughter, like
yes,
actual
like,
real
belly laughter.
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
I
we
think
are
I
our
remember
funniest when we're playing Dungeons and
actually
Dragons.
like crying, laughing.
Yeah,
Dude, yes,
multiple
multiple
times.
times.
Especially those late night one.
Yeah, those are
After 12
dangerous.
o'clock,
Those are
it's
dangerous.
dangerous
Especially
hours to be playing.
6 hours deep into a session,
Yeah.
and it's like
Oh god.
1 a.m.
Yeah.
It's
Silly
it
time.
gets
I'm either
silly.
sleeping or laughing.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
On
Go
that
ahead,
note,
Maestro.
hope you guys enjoyed today's episode.
Yeah.
Hope that we were able to, if you weren't interested in D&D, hopefully we were able to like, give you some insight into it. And if you are interested in D&D, hopefully we did it right by you and you enjoyed, listening and hearing our conversations.
Yeah. Let
Um,
us know your favorite characters and what their backstories are.
Yeah.
True. Actually, yeah.
Comment,
true.
comment favorite builds, favorite character, things like
feel
that.
free to send your D&D Beyond like character links, check it
Yeah.
out. Why not?
Yeah.
I want to.
Hey, I'm gonna rate them.
I'm gonna steal 'em.
I'm
I'm gonna steal.
Wow.
Yeah, and on that note, this is the Dubois Podcast, and we are
Dubois.
and we'll see you next week. This is Calvin in post editing. Just wanted to thank our special guest Austin for being on here, and hopefully we'll have him again soon. Bye. I gotta piss.
Yeah.